Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 7th meeting of the Milton Select Board. Please stand if you're able. Join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Coming up next is public comment. By rules for the Select Board, we allow 3 minutes for individual speakers, and we have allocated a total of 21 minutes. If you are joining us online, I have to adjust my Zoom window first. Okay, great. So we have somebody online. Do we have anybody here in person for citizen speak? Okay. Can we go ahead and promote? Great. Thank you, Nick. You're a step ahead of me. Mr. Corey, can you hear us okay?
I can.
Great. You have 3 minutes. I will give you a quick warning when you're at 2.5 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I timed it on about 2.5.
All right.
Dear Select Board members, my name is John Corey, as you saw from the screen. I grew up here in Milton and currently have a home on Upper Canton Avenue. For the past 8 years, I've consistently advocated for traffic calming measures in our town and have presented to both the Select Board and the Traffic Commission, always emphasizing the urgent need to address the risks posed by high-speed, cross-town, cut-through traffic. This traffic not only threatens our town's identity and neighborhoods, but also disrupts the flow of traffic on our local roads. In response to these concerns, I've actively participated in traffic commission meetings and advocated specifically for the traffic road diet on Randolph Avenue. In this example, while traffic queuing is increased during peak hours, no one can argue the benefit to safety in the town on this corridor filled with residents and our local businesses. However, we must acknowledge, as we do from time to time, that traffic calming measures can sometimes have unintended consequences. For instance, since the road diet, Canton Avenue has undoubtedly experienced an increase in traffic, particularly this fast-moving cut-through traffic. This has posed a safety issue in my neighborhood and has led to neighborhood concerns due to our local inability to handle such traffic volumes. We must continue these efforts all over town to have traffic calming. Given these challenges, I kindly request that the Select Board approve the traffic calming master plan, which will be presented by Marina, Darwin, and Sky a little bit later in the meeting. On a personal note, we have recently learned that Marina's departure from the town will be, I think, at the end of this month or in May. And I want to express my gratitude for her exceptional collaboration in her pivotal role implementing traffic calming in our town. Her dedication to listening to residents and translating their concerns into action has been truly commendable. I'm optimistic about the future of Milton's roads under our new leadership, new town engineers leadership, and look forward to continuing efforts to restore order and safety on our streets. So I'll just make a final plug. I hope the Select Board will consider the item carefully and approve the traffic measure. I think it's item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Corey. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
If there's anyone else online, it doesn't look like there is, or in person, this is your final chance. Going once, going twice. Moving on. I would love to invite Ms. Linda Lee Sheridan to join us to talk about the Milton Music Fest and the 250th anniversary, June 20th and 21st. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, how many of you have been to Milton Music Fest before? So, thank you. It is such a great event. I was going to start off by giving you a little bit of history of how this event came to be. Back in 2012, we had the 350th celebration of Milton, which I was the proud chair of that committee. And one of our events for that year was a parade that ran through the whole town and then ended up at Milton High School with a huge event of concerts and then finished off with fireworks. And people thought it was such a great event that they wanted to do it again. So a few of us that were on the committee continued that work, and moved it to Hutchinson Field, where it's been for the past 12 years. And this is now our 14th year of having Milton Music Fest as it is. It is Milton's biggest community event. We figure that over the years, over 100 performers, we've had 100 performances from bands and local artists. We've annually been recognized as the best Milton event. We average between 3,000 and 4,000 people on a weekend, and so we figure the total could be upwards of 60,000 people who have participated in Milton Music Fest over the past 14 years. It's so wonderful to see generations of families that keep coming back and neighborhoods that come and celebrate together. It's kind of that adage, if you build it, they will come, and we've been so happy to have this great event for Milton. But this year, we're going to make it special for two reasons. First, because as you said, it is the 250th birthday of our nation. And secondly, because it's going to be our final year of Milton Music Fest. The festivities will be held from 4 to 10 on both days, which is a change. It's going to be on Saturday, June 20th, and Sunday, June 21st will be Celtic Sunday this year, which actually happens to be Father's Day. So the events will, usually Celtic Sunday is during the day. This year we're moving it to the afternoon, starting in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. And the fireworks will be going off at 9:45 both nights, Saturday and Sunday. So with the addition of a second night of fireworks, I guess you could say we're going out with a bang. Just to recap what people can expect to find on Saturday and Sunday, both days, there'll be a giant sandbox that's now in honor and memory of our dear friend Jared Crowley. We have 2 water slides, a giant one for the brave of heart, and then a smaller one for the kiddos. And cornhole and food and beverages to purchase. Novara is our partner in this, and they've been exceptional, as well as other food vendors that come in. Additionally, on Saturday, we'll have face painting characters, axe throwing, and on Sunday, we'll have a very special trad tent with traditional Irish music in a smaller setting. As I said, 9:45 each night, the fireworks will go off. Our mission has really always been to make this event 100% free for the community so that everyone can enjoy it. And this event would not have been possible without the Copeland Family Foundation and their enormous generosity over the years, as well as the local businesses and institutions who have supported us too. I need to give a shout out to our small but mighty group that pulls off this event every year. Kathy Fagan, Glenn Pavlicek, Richard Wells, Gary Kelly, and Amanda K. Loring, and past members Brian Kelly and Eric Miller. So if people want to help, we can always use help clean up on Saturday and Sunday after the fireworks, and on Monday morning as we pack up everything. But we really hope that this will be a special event for the community, as it's our last, and we look forward to welcoming everyone. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Questions or comments from the members? I'm looking to you, Mr. Wells.
So first off, I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Driscoll, who took that hayfield of 20 years, like 15 years ago, that in my life I had never seen anything on, and turned it into a very usable field, which has truly benefited the trustees who are the owners of that field. I said this to Linda Lee, you've been the voice behind this since the day that the town decided to have a 350th anniversary, and you've been the person who's driven this ship the entire time. I'm just the mouthpiece behind it, and I want to give a shout out to all the town departments who really kick in like they are. Parks, DPW, fire, police, cemetery. I don't think there's any town department that has not played a role in this event, and it's clearly as the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come every single year. And the biggest thing is, it's free. No one has ever had to pay a nickel to go to this event. It's the largest free event I've ever seen in my life. And so the only last show is on Sunday. So one of the performers who plays in a band, the Fenian Sons, Billy Carey, firefighter on Rescue 2 died of work-related cancer just last month. He actually collapsed on the stage 4 years ago while performing. They thought he had fainted, and he was diagnosed with stage 4 brain and lung cancer. He was 2 months shy of being cancer-free for 4 years and died last month. So we have dedicated Sunday to him, and we're going to, as a surprise, have a huge fire truck parade go by at some point in the afternoon for all the kids and everything. So it'll be, as Linda Lee says, we'll go out, bang. The only thing we need is weather. That's the only thing is weather.
Please pray.
Weather is anyone who knows in any type of festival, weather is your money. My friend Ronan Tyner always says sound is your money, but weather is your money. So thank you to you for all you've done. I know that you were the one person on the committee who, when we started to discuss last year that perhaps we do just one more year. I mean, it's gone way longer than I ever thought and way bigger than I ever thought, that you've been the one person who's made sure that this happens. So the credit goes to you.
That's great. Other questions or comments from the members?
No questions, but just thank you to you, Linda, for leading this and for the rest of the committee who've been so dedicated. It is a great event. You know, I've taken my kids to it several times, and you know, these things don't just happen. It's the work of a lot of people. And these large events are complicated to put together. So thank you for all the work from like the fundraising and the project planning and the site plans. And there's probably a whole host of minutia and headaches that arise unanticipated every time that you very gracefully handle. So thank you.
She's good at that. She's good at
Yeah,
that.
I can
She's good at that.
imagine.
She's good at that.
We're a well-oiled machine. We really work
You
well
are.
together.
The rest of us might not be, but you are.
So thank you for the time, and I hope to see you there.
Yeah, I do have one question for
Oh,
you.
sure. I'm
before you
sorry,
go.
sorry.
I also just want to add my own personal thanks. 2012 is actually the year that I moved to Milton, and it's hard to believe that's 14 years ago now. When that parade, that I sort of arrived, you know, knowing a little bit about the town and the history and everything, but within, I think I moved in March, and it was like all of a sudden there was all this amazing stuff happening. So I was like, this is a really special place.
We
So-
did that parade just for you coming to home.
Yeah, I told my kids that.
It was a beautiful day. Everybody got sunburned.
Yeah.
So Linda Lee, you mentioned if people want to volunteer, you have spots available. What's a good way for people to get in touch, to sort of put their hand up and volunteer?
I'll just give my email. If people want to email me, it's llbsheridan@gmail.com.
Okay.
Sorry, I almost gave my work email. llbsheridan@gmail.com. So
All right, so
I'd be happy
folks
to-
can email there, and
Sure.
if that doesn't work, I'll ask them to contact us in the select board, and we can put them in touch with
Sure.
you too.
That's great.
So we're, again, with gratitude, thank you very
Yes.
much for all you do.
Thank you.
I just want to say it's a first-class organization you're in, and with a lot of very nice people. Thank you very much. Very first-class. From what I hear, it's really
From
too
what I
late for me
hear.
to show up. If it was early in the morning, I'd be
He
there.
doesn't come. He never
Oh,
comes.
God,
He
it's
never
too
comes.
late, huh? Well,
But,
Cuts the grass.
no,
He
it's
doesn't
very
come.
good.
yeah, well, you've helped
No,
contribute
it's
to
not,
that.
it's just,
Making
as
people
long
a
as everybody
special place.
enjoyed it, and everybody does, and it's a great thing for the town of Milton. Sorry to see it end,
Yeah, we are too, but
but.
all good things
All
have to
good
come to
things.
an end.
But thank
Someone
you.
will maybe find something else to do.
I'm sure this town has something up its sleeve for
I
sure.
hope so. It's a lot of work.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number
Thank you
5.
for that, Mr. Chair. Thank
sorry?
you. Thank you for
Oh,
doing
you're
that.
very, very welcome. Item number 5, discussion approval veterans sign to honor members of the Coyle family to be placed on Brayburn Road.
Kathleen D'Amato is here from the neighborhood to speak
Great.
about this request.
This is big. This is big.
Good evening, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good evening. My name is Kathleen D'Amato, and I live at 2 Brayburn Road. Ed and Mary Coyle were my neighbors for almost 30 years. Ed and Mary bought their house at 7 Brayburn Road in 1976 and lived there until last summer when they both passed away within weeks of each other. Mary and Ed were amazing neighbors and friends. They loved their home in the Braeburn-Hillcrest neighborhood. They were always mentoring and following the careers of many of the children they watched grow up in our neighborhood. They were always there with a friendly hello and a helping hand. They were very humble and very proud of their military service. They were always giving back and helping others, and they never looked for any recognition. A little history on both of them. Ed was an electrical aviation contractor with the United States government. He was a retired colonel with the United States Marine Corps. Ed served his country with distinction, including as the United States Marine Corps representative on the Department of Defense Inspector General team. Ed served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam and was also a Purple Heart recipient. Mary was a dedicated nurse and a decorated officer. She served as a flight nurse examiner at Westover and was a registered nurse at the Kearney Hospital. She was a retired colonel of the United States Air Force. Mary was honored with numerous military decorations, including the Combat Readiness Medal with 3 oak leaf clusters, and the Outstanding Unit Award with 3 oak leaf clusters, and both the Air Force Commendation and Meritorious Service Medals. I remember during COVID, Mary saying to me that her RN license was still active, and when she was ready to jump in if they needed her. I loved our chats and times we spent together. I miss them dearly, but know they are together smiling down, watching over their beloved neighbors and neighborhood. To Mary and Ed, we were not just neighbors, we were their family, and they were ours. Thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of Ed and Mary Coyle, and for your consideration of the veteran sign to honor them. Thank you.
Mr. Milano, do you want to add anything from a process perspective on this before we go into comments?
Only, I shared earlier today a memo from Alex Ortiz from the Office of Veteran Services for the town that talks about the service as well and described the request as well. I think what we've been thinking internally is a smaller signpost that would go on a street sign in that area. We obviously have the Hometown Heroes program, but those are more on main streets, not necessarily a side street near where somebody lives. So I think procedurally, this is the first time in a while a request like this has come up. We do have a Gold Star Killed in Action dedication on Norman Road. That was put in probably 4 or 5 years ago,
6
maybe.
years ago, yeah. It was actually on like Veterans Day, we did it. It was on Veterans Day.
So I envision something similar, so a signpost that goes on top of a street sign, if the board is interested and supportive. And then I do think we would probably expect some additional requests to come in, and we can work with the Veterans Services Office to come up with a policy and program around that going forward.
Mr. Wells?
So you should probably, once we do that, once we get the sign, you should probably select a dedication day. I've been to a lot of these. I think you definitely.
Yes, no, I would love that, to have a dedication day, absolutely.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we authorize a sign to be erected in honor of the members of the Coyle family at on Braeburn Road. Is there a specific place on Braeburn Road?
Their house is right in the corner of Braeburn and Hillcrest.
Corner of Braeburn and Hill. I'm just going to say Braeburn. It can be
Yeah,
changed. I'm just
they're
gonna write
Braeburn, but their
Braeburn
house is
and
right in the
Hillcrest.
corner, so if we could do right there, it'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Are we going to have any discussion or questions or comments from members before we vote? Okay. We've got Mr. Daly online, so we'll go first to him, and then we'll go around the room. Mr. Daly?
Yes.
Mr. Daly's yes. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So we're very happy to hear that. Please be in touch with us to let us know when what a good time will be. I know Alex will be working on this as well. But thank you for thinking of them and for your kindness and dedication.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
My Coke Zero.
So now we are going to have a discussion, update, approval, proposal for a traffic calming master plan and policy with tool design. So I would invite folks to come up to the front here.
Thank you.
Mr. Milano?
expect to be joined by the engineering folks momentarily. It means our sky is here. So just as way up, there's Marina. So I'll, yes, no problem. Thank you. Darwin, if you want to pull up a chair as well.
It's already over, we voted no.
So for the board's introduction, this is Darwin Ceballos, who joined us in January as our engineer, right? I have that right? Yeah. So, jumped right in, so grateful for that. And I guess, Marina, I'll turn it over to you just to introduce the traffic calming proposal with Tool and we'll turn it over to them for a presentation. I'll just say kind of really in terms of big picture background that as I've been in Milton and we've done some small traffic calming measures on a more limited kind of case by case basis. I think our preference would be to take a big step back and do a picture, look at the whole town, do some community engagement, come up with a real game plan for implementation, and have a real toolkit that DPW can use moving forward anytime we touch a road. So that's the broad strokes in terms of my perspective. Marina, I'll turn it over to you, and then we can let Tool do a presentation.
So thank you. My name is Marina Fernandez, DPW Director, Darwin Town Engineer. Thanks for having us. And thank you, Tool, for coming in. They will speak more deeply into what our plan and our proposal is. But just to reiterate what you said, Nick, with the amount of time I've been here heading the Traffic Commission for about 1.5 years, and it became quite apparent in the beginning that we were just dealing with folks as they came and approached us, and instead of having, well, there is a proactive approach, but having that equitable and a way to look at every street, understand what our low-hanging fruit, would be, what roads we want to tackle first, what is the funding mechanism, understanding what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, meaning what folks are willing to, try it out and have almost like a roadmap approach would be the best feasible way in order for us to have these traffic commission meetings and really have, solutions out of the issues that are being brought to the table, and solutions that will work for every street. The way that we deal with water mains, and we'll speak about it in a few minutes, the way that we approach pavement, it's how do we best improve the town as a whole rather than just one issue. Otherwise, we'll get fixated by it and never get to the whole holistic approach. And that's what Tool came to the table. This is a very tailored to the town. We had several meetings. They've met with the planning board. They've met with Nick, myself, the engineering team, and really looked at some of the things that we're doing. And this is the proposal. It has been reviewed by our team. It has been reviewed with the Traffic Commission, and now they'll present it to you. And hopefully you can have a say in it too. So please. And this is Erica and Katrina. Thank you.
I just want to make sure, we do have some slides. I want to make sure those are getting queued up
Well,
while I do my little intro spiel. I know Katrina's going to need those slides for her part of this presentation. Thanks. Thanks, Marina. Thank you, members of the Select Board, for having us this evening. I'm really excited to get to this point in the process. I know we've been working with Marina and her colleagues quite a bit over the last few months, kind of making sure that this is really thoughtful and really, as she mentioned, catered to the town of Milton. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about tool design and a little bit more about myself and Katrina, just to kind of get you oriented of who we are and why we think we're a great fit for this project. But I do want to, also allow Katrina a good amount of time to share a little bit more about the scope of work and have time for discussion with you all. So just the next slide, please. So my name's Erica Guidaboni. I'm a professional engineer with the state of Massachusetts. I've been working in traffic engineering for over 20 years now. Have with me tonight Katrina Meyer, certified planner with over a decade of local experience. We work together in Tool's Boston office. And we think we're a really good pair for this because we have a unique blend of planning and traffic engineering experience to bring to this. And we're really grounded in safety design work is a big part of what we do. Next slide. So just real quick, Tool Design, we're a bit unique in the industry. We are a mission-driven firm. That is not something that is typical necessarily. And all the work that we do focuses on safety work. Like that's really our bread and butter. So our values are really aligned with, safety, equity, providing access to the public realm in a safe way for all roadway users, including people walking, people biking, people accessing transit, and of course, drivers. So a big part of this is we want to make sure that we have a data-driven approach to this, and that when you're giving a roadmap to the town to kind of go forward with traffic calming, that we are ensuring that we're being equitable and really being, again, based in safety, and based in data, and not sort of reactionary to the loudest voices. One more slide, and then I'm going to hand it over. Just real quick, we're over 300 engineers, planners, landscape architects, urban designers. So that's a really interesting, cool blend that we'll bring to this project. We support communities throughout the country, as you can see on this screen. And I think at that point, I'm just going to hand it off to Katrina to let her get into the weeds on the Milton Focus Plan.
Sounds good.
Next slide.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, if you page to the next slide, this kind of summarizes a little bit what you heard from Marina and Erica. Our goal here is to develop a framework for addressing traffic calming needs in Milton, define when and how so that the traffic committee can use our roadmap to respond to requests and be proactive, and then come up with a near-term roadmap based on all of that. What does the town need to accomplish in the next few years? So on the next slide, we've kind of just outlined like 5 tasks that would be inclusive of our scope of work. Kind of just task 1 is administrative stuff to manage the project. We want to do our homework in collaboration with the city or the town departments to set the baseline of what are the issues. We've heard the problem statements, but can we document them, do some community engagement, develop goals, and then task 5 is really those key outcomes that will be the policies and the tools going forward. So if you go to the next slide, please. We developed a 10-month schedule to do this work. Community engagement, we want to be careful. We don't want that falling in August when everybody's on vacation or over the winter holidays. So we might switch those depending when we kick off. But, we think this is a process that would be about 10 months long. And so with the next few slides, I'm kind of just going to go through task by task and give you one level deeper. So at the outset of the project, we've been talking, as Marina said, with different departments in the town. So we want to kick it off and make sure we have a good understanding of who from Public Works and the Planning Department and the town administrator, need to be involved at what points in the process. We're engaging all the different groups and then just some other administrative stuff here. So on to task 2. So we want to review other transportation-focused work that you guys have done in the past. I think there's the traffic mitigation work, there's the master plan implementation work as some key things that have come up in our previous discussion. So we want to understand where there have been other transportation goals, what other plans have defined like hotspots and issue areas already so that we had that understanding from what's been done in the past. Then the other piece of this is the existing conditions data analysis. So understanding where there are safety issues based on crash history. A lot of that analysis has already been sort of done by the state and the Boston region Metropolitan Planning Organization. So pulling in those, safety-focused crash analyses and zooming in on Milton, and then looking at traffic volumes, speeds, where people are flowing in and out of Milton, as well as within Milton to set that baseline. On task 3, this is the community engagement. So we've outlined a plan for community engagement that has 2 phases. Up front, in the initial phase, we would want to introduce this plan and, there's an awareness in the community of traffic calming, so we would want to take a pulse on that and maybe broaden that awareness, see who's not being reached already and is not already thinking about traffic calming. So introduce that and then learn from the community what they want to see. What's the vision for the Milton's transportation system, and how can traffic calming play a role in that? In phase 2, we're going to really be sharing the draft materials. So I'll talk about what that entails in task 5, but that'll be the opportunity for, here's the draft policy, here's the draft toolkit, and let's get public reaction. And the next slide goes through the schedule of those 2 phases and the different elements of our community engagement plan. We'll be in regular coordination with the Traffic Commission at 3 different points. We plan to come back to you all at 2 different points throughout the process. Public open house, online survey, so different opportunities so folks can have their voice heard in this planning process. Yeah.
Pop-up maybe.
That sounds like a good idea for sure. Task 4 will happen after the first phase of community engagement. This is just to document the vision and goals so that when we're coming up with those data-driven criteria that you heard about from Marina and Erica, we're pointing back towards something. We're saying, okay, we've agreed that we want to have safe streets. We've agreed that we want to make sure we're following the data, that there's equity across different neighborhoods. So what are those goals? I don't know them yet. Those are just some ideas, but we're going to write those down so that if you go to the next slide in task 5, we have a North Star that we're pointing back to as we develop decision-making tools. So this is the meat of what the town can expect to take away at the end of this process. First on the list is the traffic calming policy. So this is the framework. There might be some sort of decision tree in there that says, here's how Milton is going to make decisions about traffic calming. Here's the role that future public requests play and how we'll handle them. Like Marina says, these input comes into the traffic committee, and it's like, okay, we have to follow the requests. So how can the policy channel those requests and create a process for what comes next when those come in? So the policy is that framework. It sets up the tools based on the goals for evaluating where traffic calming goes. The next thing on the list here is the traffic calming toolkit and map. So what are the different traffic calming tools? Everybody goes for speed humps, speed bumps. They're not appropriate everywhere. And so what are the other things in the toolbox? And then we'll take a map of all the streets in Milton, divide them into easy categories: neighborhood streets, collector streets that connect neighborhoods to big arterial streets, and then the big arterial streets. It's going to look something like that. There might be more nuance. And then pair the toolkit items with those street types. So it's clear, here are the types of tools and here's where they could be applied, where they would be appropriate to be applied in Milton. The next step on here, prioritization, that's coming up with that next few years roadmap. So based on the criteria and the goals, where should we start? Where are we seeing this hotspots of traffic calming issues today? And then that can be reevaluated in the future. So we'll build that into the flow chart, but want the town to also take away first steps over the next few years. Fourth thing on here is just kind of documenting all this process in a planning document, so you have something that reflects the process we all went through that you can look back to for future decision making. And then finally, funding, something Marina mentioned. Some of these changes are small dollar value, but we might uncover we need to do a big rethink of this street. And so we'll summarize some of the grant funding that's out there for those future construction projects, and just some of the key things to be aware of for funding bigger transportation change. That's maybe not in the typical repaving budget. So that's the big overview. I think my next slide just says, let's open it up for discussion. So happy in partnership with Marina to answer any questions.
Into questions?
Don't look at me.
I have a bunch.
She
Look
has
at
a
me,
bunch.
I know, so
Why don't we
I-
start with
This
Megan?
is, this is
And,
what happens when you're dealing with a fellow transportation planner.
Ms. Hegarty, please.
So thank you for coming tonight and presenting. I think this was a well-composed presentation, Marina. Thank you for all the work that you've put into this. I think it's a very good idea, and very much of the moment, from just conversations that I have all the time with neighbors. So these questions aren't organized in any particular fashion, so I'm just gonna run through some things. So I'm assuming that when you're doing your baselining and probably doing a request for information from the town departments, my question is how are you factoring in any like 40B developments, residential developments that will be coming online in the next several years? Is that, I'm assuming that's a consideration. I think it would be a good idea to factor in like where growth is emerging over the next 5 years or so. I know this sounds like more of a near-term plan, but was interested in your thoughts on how that will factor into the near-term plan.
I can take a stab at it, which,
Oh, no.
so part of the prioritization, so it's setting the baseline, but also part of the prioritization process.
Okay.
We'll be looking at kind of origins and destinations and generators.
Okay.
And so we can incorporate that into our generators kind of data to say this is gonna be a high density location that's gonna have a lot of people coming in and out of it. So that is a component of this. I know, we'll be looking at, part of the generators is like schools, parks, health centers, assisted living facilities, like places where there's more vulnerable users are likely to be present. And we can kind of weight those based on the feedback that we're receiving and the conversations we're having with the community about what the priorities are.
Okay.
So that's an element.
What is your philosophy, sort of safety and congestion? Do you see those two things as like hard trade-offs, or what's your philosophy in managing those two dynamics? So safety, considering speeds, congestion as, potential conflict points between pedestrians and vehicles. Like how are we choosing to balance these two things? Because sometimes an intervention in one area may cause a problem in another area.
That's a big traffic engineering question. I would say that we are, I never approach anything with safety not being the number one thing. And so ensuring that people are understanding that that is the priority and that there's, I think what you don't want to do is create a situation where I don't think these elements are particularly creating congestion so much as slowing you down, which I think is a different feeling. I think it feels pretty different if you're sitting in a line of cars waiting at a light versus I had to make a turn, at 15 miles per hour instead of 25 across a crosswalk. So having those conversations and having folks understand the interventions are really from a safety perspective and not intended to cause congestion, I think is kind of what I'm thinking about. Again, I don't think we're gonna be increasing red lights or, reducing vehicle lanes particularly as part of this project, when it comes to number of lanes, although that could come out and that will be a harder conversation. I know you're all at the front of the line with the road diet that just took place on, and kind of dealing with what that feels like. So maybe I'll have to learn a little bit more about how people are feeling about that locally as well.
Just to add to that, when we talk about safety and congestions, we also talk about how these tools are going to change how, when you make one change in the road, it will change how people will travel on that road. They will choose different locations. We've all lived through that, through the Randolph Ave diet. experienced that, right? How it so quickly affects other roads. To your point, the congestion. That is why this plan will allow us, and it should eventually migrate to a region, not regional, but a location, because when you make changes to a road, you really need to look at
Great point.
that area.
Yeah.
So that is why we are moving away from that person, from that street, complaining about that, and really talking about how does this entire area gets affected. So to your point, we're not only thinking about safety, but we're also thinking about the congestion approach. Because it will add, so these, what I envision are year one, this is the area that, so the matrix is going to allow to, what are we measuring based upon, obviously, people's input, the police input, what are those inputs? They're going to, so then, when you come into the traffic commission, you understand what we're looking at, a very transparent plan. I feel like people are lacking transparency. They keep asking me and our team, what are you guys looking at? And to lay that out is part of the plan. So people understand that's a well-thought plan, and we're looking at, again, the entire area, and here's what we're looking at.
I have one more question.
You can have as many questions as you like.
So,
That's all?
I know.
I'm a little surprised too.
So,
I got 6.
so how are you factoring in like consideration of like townwide signal timing and the condition of the current systems and equipment? Like, is that something that you think there's a likelihood we may end up identifying as a potential challenge or risk, or how does that, I know we're not that urban of a town, so it may not be as problematic, but, and I'm also thinking about, we are a municipality that has a lot of touch points and potential interactions with like City of Boston signal timing, DCR, MassDOT. Are any of those hotspots or potential, nodes, that are cross agency gonna be looked at as part of this?
So, yes, we typically will look at every street that a community has. However, in the prioritization, often we are kind of categorizing them as will require interjurisdictional communication. So it typically, you don't want it in the same bucket as something that you have full control over because you can make those decisions and move fairly quickly. Like that low-hanging fruit we were talking about, those are gonna be a little bit more challenging. They may require certain, designs or studies in order to go forward, but those will be listed as still will be part of the plan and part of the prioritization process. It will just have kind of a little asterisk that's like, need to communicate with, those parties in order to go forward kind of thing.
I just wanna make sure we have a good list of things for our friend, departing member Wells to go work on when he heads out. So he
Something I don't
so
know?
he can never forget us.
I wouldn't forget you.
Thank you. I'm done with my questions.
But just also to add to that, so this plan, just for the public, it's not going to come out with, all right, street X, we'll
Right.
have this. It just, right, it's just so, in terms of the signal timing, it just might come up, this area is a hotspot, and then we may need to do the design. And then as part of the design, which will say, these lists of tools are widely accepted by our community.
Yeah.
It might come as part of the final design, the review of the timing.
Okay.
So I believe that it is not our goal to have the actual designs per each of the streets. So I just want to make sure that, I know you understand
Okay.
that, but folks that are listening in.
Yeah.
not
Yeah, and I
expecting
think
to see
some
that.
of the, what we kind of keep referring to as low-hanging fruit might be a little like, don't really require a lot of study or design. It could be, you're able to use that decision tree as a community and kind of have those conversations and say, all right, this street type, is top of the list, this street type exists, and these type of, interventions are appropriate, and, you don't really
Yeah.
need, full engineering design details in order to go forward, it will be.
So that actually, that kind of answers another question that was lingering in the back of my mind that I wasn't gonna ask. But I like this approach I think you're describing because it sounds flexible. What I was a little bit worried about actually when listening to the proposal was that we'd be like locked into, no, only this can happen here, but to have a menu of options that may be viable. Because you do have the experience, you have residents' lived experience in that area. And oftentimes I get like specific requests for specific interventions. And unless you're a skilled engineer, you don't always know the full range of options, right? So that is actually nice to know that there's some flexibility with the approach and some data to back it up.
Mr. Wells?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Hagan. So, full disclosure, so I chaired the Traffic Commission for 10 years, so I know a little bit about this. So the way I like to describe traffic in the town of Milton is like the ocean. High tide, and you have low tide. Sometimes you have king tides. Like today was a king tide day, because you had, whenever you have, so there, a little bit of history. There are 6 bridges that flow into the city of Boston from the south. How many are in this town?
Dare I say 6?
5.
Okay.
Quincy has 1, we have 5.
All right.
So, a lot of people, when they go to the traffic commission, emotion is a big part of it. It's by street, it's this, it's that, Most people interpret traffic issues as speed's the issue. But yet, we went townwide 25-mile-an-hour speed limit over 3 years ago, and they would still think that. Because to many people, and you see that when Maureen, she gets the same thing. I've gone back and read traffic commission reports from 60 years ago, and neighbors have come with the same complaints they had 60 years ago. And my dad chaired it for 5 years, and said to me when I became chair, he goes, "God bless you." I said it to her when she became chair, "God bless her." It's very, but we have a volume issue here. And when Ms. Hagan keeps talking about congestion, the volume creates congestion. So today's a congestion day. I spent 2 hours in this afternoon. Today's a congestion day. It rained, it a significant crash, 93 and 28, boom. So if you're on your GPS, and because we live in a different world, and just like I go the same way, you listen to BZ News, you look at your GPS, you're going to do whatever you can. So I always would describe it's like traffic is gonna follow the point of least resistance. So when we, as you know, we implemented the road diet, and suddenly the 5 cut-through streets that go on Reedsdale Road to Highland Street went from, 50 cars to getting 100 cars an hour. Because people didn't want to sit in the road. And we've figured out ways so that's going to be, and I appreciate, like, she's asking all the right questions. The difficulty you'll have is we live in a very highly mobile society. I mean, we see it in our schools. Our schools were built to walk to, but if you go to pick up drop-off any day in school, the line's a mile long, everybody's picking up. So, and that adds locally to congestion that, like, when Ms. Hagerty said, like, we about 13 miles of the city of Boston, so you feel that pressure pushes on you, and that, a lot of people, they don't realize that. They want to get in their car or go here, they want to go here, and then they're like, what is this? So that's I think it's, because of the traffic commission, you're really giving out Band-Aids. That's what you're doing. Am I right? Like, people coming, here's my issue, you don't have you have no money, it's a zero budget committee. So here's a Band-Aid to go and try and fix, to make you feel like you're gonna get, how many want speed bumps? Give me a speed bump, give me a speed bump, but speed bumps are, they're not an end-all be-all. So I appreciate you, we're both on our way out the door, but I'm in a new role, so she'll call me on the phone. But listen, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, today is, as I told you, this road diet thing has been, I commend the staff at MassDOT. Like, I wish that I could have seen that myself. And I've been to more fatal accidents on that street that I could count. But That road diet has worked. But today, DCR threw us a curveball. DCR wants to close, they want to close Chickatobit Road permanently, like, no way, you can't do that. You can't sit on the sideline for months and months of planning and say, oh, we're gonna close our street. Can't do it. Can't do it. So that's a fight for a different day. But just like, so I only give it to you because, you know, when you watch the slide and you listen, and you know, like, being chair of the traffic commission is a very, very hard job. You know, when people talk about, oh, we'll do this in the traffic, it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to do it and live through it. It's very, very, traffic is not one of the, there are many, many amenities of this community. Traffic's not one of them. That's all I get to say. I don't want to I'll get off my soapbox.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Thanks.
Mr.
So thank
Driscoll.
you, and thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
and then Mr. Driscoll and then Mr. Daley, I just saw your hand up, so we'll go to you next.
Mrs. Haggerty can answer this, or both of you ladies. The state likes roundabouts because there's no traffic lights, right?
I don't know if I'd say that they like them or dislike them.
That's what Connecticut put in the paper, that's why they want them.
Yeah,
There's
so
no traffic lights involved.
I know MassDOT requires if you're gonna be looking at an intersection, to do an evaluation of the intersection control to determine if what's the most appropriate and a roundabout is, required to be considered. So,
Does it get rid of the,
well, it's a lower
traffic
maintenance
lights.
cost, I believe.
That's
is a
what I
big
mean.
Part of it, yeah. And it can be good for traffic flow as well, actually. But
Really
pros
think so?
and cons, I have
Sometimes
pros and cons.
Sometimes it meters traffic
Yes,
flow more
absolutely.
efficiently than,
Signalization.
signalization. It can also reduce, conflict points and, crashes.
The T crashes.
Yeah, the T, which is really the issue, why we're there. The T crashes is the issue.
Yes.
Depends a lot on the context. If you have a lot of pedestrians, that can be really challenging at a roundabout. You want the flows to kind of be equivalent in all directions, or they don't really work, so there's a
Can you
whole-
tell
there's a
DCR
whole
that?
host
Because
of
they would have
pros and
closed their
cons.
side.
You're gonna look at East Milton, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
East Milton,
Granite
all of
Ave,
it, yeah.
there's a light
Yeah.
that you only go to 4 or 5 cars, then it turns
Yeah.
red.
Yeah.
Granite Ave, that's absurd.
Yeah.
And then coming from the shell, like, that light there going to the fire station triggers real fast too. The cars are backed up. That whole,
That's part of why I was asking the question about how to interact with like state-owned signals versus town-owned signals. My hypothesis or theory, again, like everyone can be an armchair and traffic engineer, and I am not at all. But it seems to me like some of the more problematic points are where we connect with the exterior intersections that we don't necessarily have control over. So even more reason for us to have a data-driven conversations about that.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we're gonna be hearing things that we maybe cannot solve as part of this plan.
Yeah.
We're gonna ensure that all that feedback is received
Yeah.
and documented, so that things that we hear that maybe are not part of the ultimate policy
Yeah.
will still be brought to the surface and shared, so that, you know, you don't want folks to feel like they weren't heard, because they will be heard, and we'll make sure that that gets through.
This East Milton node that Mr. Driscoll's talking about is, like, it's crazy because you have.
Is it along 93, like that
Yeah,
piece?
it's that you're coming up
It
off
is crazy,
93 on script, like, it's literally, you're like maneuvering around
Very
93
tricky,
through
yeah.
our town.
I go up Mechanic Street the wrong way.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience.
God.
Leaves you things that much.
I don't have the patience.
Oh my God.
All right, that's a good signal, I
Yeah.
think, to turn to Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Daly, who's got his hand up. Mr. Daly.
Might have to strike that from the minutes.
Yeah, right.
My one question is kind of pivoting off of what Marina said. What is your approach to providing in this report and your assessment some living recommendations? Because I'm worried that in so many reports that we get, it's for and of the moment. And if it, takes a little while for implementation, takes a little while to roll things out, how do you approach giving recommendations that we can continue to use when we judge the changes in the traffic patterns for continued improvement?
That's definitely been front of our minds, based on our conversations with Marina. And so we're viewing one of the key outputs as that flow chart and decision-making tool, whatever it looks like, that has, we're gonna do the goal-setting exercise, translate that into data-driven things, so things that can be measured based on crash data, speeds, vehicle volumes, and do that all in a very transparent fashion. So that's a process that we'll do it once, and then you guys will have the tools to be able to do that in future years to evaluate, okay, what's our next set of priorities? So that prioritization process, we imagine to be something replicable, as well as the other parts of the process, like what do we do when a request comes in? How often is the town going to reevaluate those criteria that I just described? So I think the policy is intended to create those frameworks. And then like that 1, 2, 3 year roadmap is more of like, what should we do now? And so that part will be a little bit more of the moment, as you said, in terms of what comes next.
Yes, I'd like also to add the vision that I have shared with the team. I know I'm on my way out, but Darwin has been brought up to speed. He's been here since the incorporation, the making of this plan, so which is great. You're going to have a great continuation. But what I'm going to give you an example of how I envision this. We have a set of neighborhood that is parallel to 93, and we know it's a cut-through neighborhood, right? Several people in those neighborhoods have come to the traffic commission every single day to request for traffic calming. And then you do something on one street, and it, to your point, it impacts the other streets. So let's say that this, and I believe that at one point this roadmap is going to point out that to be a red area, right? Let's call it a hot point area. Either the hot points area are either due to traffic accidents, so it's a high area traffic accident, or input from the community. So there are different things that would be bubbling those neighborhoods up. So that neighborhood gets bubbled up to the top, and now we're taking care of it. That roadmap is going to tell us, who's making a decision, that, hey, don't just look at one street. You got to look at more than one. So now we have a neighborhood, and then that will put in the process, it will start triggering the process. So this is not telling me what to do in that neighborhood, but it is saying, these are the things that we might want to consider for this neighborhood. Bring the neighborhood in for a meeting. Let's talk to the neighbors. What do they want the feel and the look of that particular neighborhood? To your point, the closing industry, decreasing, and how does that affect other services? The emergency services absolutely need to be considered. Not many, but some people will say, close out my street. I want it to be a dead-end street, right? Don't we all?
That's right.
But what does it do to the other driving forces, which is, then we bring the emergency services, right? What does it mean? What does it mean to our budget? We may not be required for us to spend an entire budget only on those neighborhoods. So again, to answer your question, that is how we envision this to work in a very realistic, in a very practical way, because it will provide us these baselines, and the baselines today may not be the baselines tomorrow. Because again, we're trying to do some things right away. Once that is done, we need to move the baseline because we've achieved our baseline, right? So we'll continue to move that baseline along in order to prioritize our neighborhoods in this community.
And I think a big part of this process is just ensuring that all the departments within the town, and also the public to some extent, are kind of informed a little bit more, educated a little bit more, and understand like what everyone's priorities are. So part of this process is really just like facilitating these conversations and then documenting them in some way.
I also just want to add to all this, there's also a practical and hands-on element to, like, what should a turning radius be from a larger street to a smaller street. So maybe when we're doing our curb ramps, we'll square off those intersections, now the turns go much slower, and naturally we slow traffic down. So Winston, to your point, like, those are the kind of more tangible things that we'll have that we can apply on streets across Milton that aren't just goals that could be achieved in a couple of years, but are going to be practical toolkit items that we could take off the shelf and apply to any number of streets in Milton and other places, in different neighborhoods across town as well. So there's that practical element of actual implementation ideas that are low cost and effective and affect more of the side streets where we see a lot of the complaints coming from.
Because they take the bleed. That's it. They, you know, people see a hiccup, take a side street. That's it.
So from the chair's perspective, I think this is an optimal time to do this because I think, we had a terrible crash on Randolph last summer, and this board wrote, to MassDOT, and we were able to very quickly, I think, get this road diet in place. And we have also worked very closely with the neighbors of abutting neighborhoods to figure out how best to optimize it. And I have just really been inspired by how the community has looked at this kind of collectively as something that is a good thing. It initially was a lot of road blockages, and as I know that you guys heard from Mr. Corey, it is still a little bit of a whack-a-mole. We've pushed the traffic down here and it's popped up over on Canton Ave. I'm also an Upper Canton Ave resident, so I know exactly what he's talking about. So I think that this is a really, it's a great idea. It's a great time to do this. I think that for the town, we're going to be ready to have this conversation. So I don't really have a question, and I do have a soapbox also, but I guess I'll step off of it. My suggestion is that I think as we consider the public outreach portion of this to get input, you mentioned earlier, like the high traffic areas like schools, retirement villages and communities. I would specifically go to the PTOs of the schools, along, the school principals. I would go to Milton Academy, I would go to Curry College, I would go to Fuller and Homake and Winter Valley, and let them know, particularly the online one, I think for some folks will probably be the easiest, but let them know that we're soliciting input and encourage them to provide that input because, particularly, I agree with you, like parents and, the elderly are hyper aware of the, of traffic safety for good reason. And so I think they will have good input. And I think by encouraging all of those folks to sort of comment, then it will also have the subsequent effect of ensuring folks that we're really trying to get everybody's input and advice here and not just looking at specific neighborhoods.
And I think, I know we didn't really linger on it too much, but the online survey, I think could be a really good forum and a website that has a lot of information. It'd be a really great way to get the word out.
Yeah, and so thinking about maybe sending it to all school parents, for example, or however, there might be ways to get it out there to bigger audiences. But I think that would be critically important for the success of this, because we've seen when we bring people together in to talk about these issues, everyone wants to solve these problems in a way that's safe for everyone. So I think this is really exciting. Yes, Mr. Wells.
Just a final point. This is something Ms. Haggerty brought up, and this goes back to when 9 years when I was first aboard. We were in the East Milton project. Bless you.
Excuse me.
Howard Stein Hudson strongly recommended this smart technology, and I'm not even sure whether signalization talks to signalization and coordinated
ITS.
And we pushed hard at the time. We wanted it, and I had forgotten what you just brought up to actually on Adams Street to talk through Lower Mills, on Granite Ave to talk through Galvin Boulevard, because if you go and watch it, it's not a light. And I know that the town struggled getting that online at the end of that project. And I still to this date don't know if it works as it was sold to us. But to me, to what Ms. if you look at Europe, London, and I just went on a trade mission to London, to Dublin, and they talk, we have cameras everywhere. If we have cameras, we can have technology, because that's the only way to really kind of, particularly on the commute, so when I talk about the waves, when the king tide, to really make a difference. And I think it's important. That's the only place in town we have it. And I do know that, I think.
Are they our signals or are they MassDOT
They're
signals?
ours now, but they were
Okay.
part of the project. They were included in the project and in the bid. And I believe Jack Calabro takes care, right, Jack? But there was a lot of difficulty getting it to work when it first. So, but I do know that there was a lot of discussion between us, the city of Boston, as far as making them talk beyond the border. You know, beyond just the line of, so just one thing, when you're looking big picture,
Yeah, and that's part of setting the
That
baseline and
technology.
making sure we're not reinventing any wheels and we're aware of what's already been done and kind of what's working and what's not, so.
So we can entertain a motion.
yeah, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve the proposal for traffic calming master plan and policy with tool design.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion?
You have to pay him tonight?
You got your checkbook?
That's the lot.
They said
That's
they'd
his
have a
job.
schedule of
That's his job.
invoices that align with.
You have to always have humor at all times.
So with no further discussion or jokes, we will go to a roll call vote on this, starting with you, Mr. Daly.
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yes.
Ms. Haggerty.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you very much for coming in, for your
Thank you.
time, and we look forward to this work.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you.
Marina, you're gonna stick around with us, I think, for our next item.
Yes.
So our next item is discussion update capital paving management program overview with DPW Director Marina Fernandez, Town Engineer Darwin Ceballos, and
Thank you.
Assistant Town Engineer Sky Berube. Am I saying that right? And I know we've got Sky online. Great to have you. Marina, why don't we turn the floor over to you?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Select Board again. This is, just want to start off by saying that I know I have a month left, but it's been great working for the town. It's in a very enjoyable position. I feel like the work that you guys are doing and that the team is doing every single day is really exciting. So it was definitely a hard decision to make. But you guys are in wonderful hands. Darwin and Sky. Sky's been with us since he graduated from UMass Dartmouth a couple of years ago, and he's just done a tremendous job. Anyone that has seen him out there, he's really working hard for this town, and I'm very proud of him, very proud of Darwin also, and again, you guys are in excellent hands. With that being said, we do have a presentation here for you today. I'll try to go through it quickly. It's a lot of content, but please stop me if you have any questions. I met with you all a few months ago where I said I would come back and talk to you about the need for, additional requests for funding for infrastructure, specifically the pavement. And today I'm here to try to explain how we go about selecting the roads in which we're going to pave. And again, with that idea of bettering the entire community as opposed to one selected street. Just so you know, the roadway network for our town is approximately 97 miles of roadways that have been accepted. Currently, our roadway surface rating is 61.88. The RSR, which is so-called, it's kind of like a score that is given for the entire community. In every 3 years or so, we hire a firm that drives around and using a tool, they score every single one of our roadway network and provides each selected road with a score. That score allows us to understand what kind of repair method is the best selection for that roadway. And again, looking at the combined score, it's 61.88, which is not atypical from any other community here in Massachusetts. But we certainly wanted to look at that score every single time and look at it going up. Right now, unfortunately, we are aging faster than we're investing in our roads. And there are different challenges that I will speak about, but mostly it's the cost. So we're looking at construction costs since COVID having gone up. If you ever try to do any work in your house, you know that it costs, a considerable amount more. It's not atypical of all of our waterways, all of our infrastructure, all of our roadways as well. So with the same amount of money that we were using 5 years ago, we are getting to do a little less. The estimated improvements to get all of the works, if we were to make, improve all of the roadways at this point in time, it would be $22.5 million. That cost only represents roadway surface improvements. They don't include the sidewalks, the ADA compliance, the drainage, or utility improvements. This entire report that you see here on this today is on that link, if any one of you are interested in taking a look at. Next slide, please. So when I talk about the current fiscal year 26 budget, there is approximately 1.2 million in town appropriations related to roadway and our sidewalks. $1 million is what we have historically appropriated, and additionally 200,000 for sidewalks. There's also for this fiscal year 1.2 million in Chapter 90 appropriations. That's our state funds for a total of 2.4. Most of you might be surprised to learn that approximately only 45% of that amount is actually spent on the roadway surface. What do we use the other amounts for? You can look at that pie chart. You have wheelchair ramps, sidewalks, permanent trenches that are done throughout the town, pavement markings, police details, other remaining budget and contingencies, structures, the castings, everything else that the berm, everything else that is related that is not the roadway surface. Next slide, please. We use a 5-year projection model in order to demonstrate how that, again, that roadway network RSR changes based on the different funding scenarios. So if we had at the current level of spending, as you saw in the last slide, that only 45% of that 2.4, roughly 1.05, are being spent on the roadways, you will see that level that will shows us it's the orange line. We're going to be declining in overall network rate over the next 5 years and not going up, despite the amount of funding that we currently maintain. We will need to spend around $1.5 million on the roadway surfaces in order to just maintain the current score. So over the year, the town really needs to be looking at increasing the overall budget rather than maintaining where we are. Next slide, please.
Sorry, we're messing with that.
Was that us? Did we
I
do
think
that?
we screwed it up, sorry.
No, we're good.
Okay.
I couldn't see the number.
Yeah, I saw him give you a look.
I'm sorry.
I feel like it is me
Blue
that's
line is
doing
two
that.
point five million.
It is you, yeah.
Okay.
It's Nick. It's Nick that's doing it.
Oh,
So blue is 2.5 million, 2 million is the green, and 1.5 is the black solid.
And to be clear, that's the number, that's the 45% number.
Correct,
of
that's just the roadway surface, if we were spending the roadway surface money.
I do think it would be helpful to know what some comparable communities'
Yeah.
RSR is. Because it seems like 59 would be worse than 62, but I don't know, like, does
What
that
is-
mean it
what
looks
is
like a
60
war-torn street, or does it look
I'll go
like?
to
yeah,
grade
what
is
is,
how
yeah,
goes
what
to
does
61?
65 look like
Yeah.
versus 61?
That's a great question. I should have put in a picture of it's just, to
That's
me,
okay.
it's like I know what a 65 looks like.
Yeah, we can follow up with you on it.
I'll send you.
I think it would be
but
helpful
this is
for
If we
folks, yeah.
post this, I can post with pictures of example.
That would be super
example
helpful.
If I may add, I do believe on the website, Marina, as you referenced before, for the full summary report does include pictures showing a low RSR roadway and then a high ranking RSR roadway for comparison.
Thank you, Sky.
Yeah, and,
Oh, and Mr. Daly has his hand up. Mr. Daly,
Yeah, quickly, Marina,
I got it.
in that follow-up, is it possible for us to also get some sort of connecting point to dollars and condition? Just seeing it here that it's a little hard for me to see that for $1 million, as I think folks in the room are saying, we're only going from a 61 to 65. You know, I would like to
Yeah.
see, is there a number, you know, what's 61 to 80 look like? Or 85?
okay.
A lot more money.
Mr. Driscoll has his hand up, and then Mr.
Marina,
Wells.
this is none of your fault. I was on the warrant committee about 7 years ago, and Chase Berkeley said we needed at least 30 to 40 million dollars to bring our roads up to snuff. This is not your fault, it's the town's fault. So going up a couple of points from 61 to, that's not gonna do much.
Yeah.
I drive a lot of roads looking at jobs, and they're all a disgrace. No one's fault, it's my fault for letting it get that bad. Seriously. 7, 8 years ago, they were talking about 30 to 40 million dollars. We had a bond for road work. And everybody's had their head in the sand. No one's in fault in here. But it's been out in the public how bad it is. So it's just very, it's not good. All the roads are tough. It's like Center Street, Center Lane, I mean. It's like a third world country, part of that road. Go to Emerson Woods. That's another bad road. And that was only 30, 40-year development. Herrick Drive, today, the first part of that. And all your trucks gonna plow that stuff. All the plows get beat up. There's a lot of ramifications to that. We're buying $1 million, $2 million tower truck. It's all electronics. You go down the road doing 50 miles an hour, I'm sure that's not gonna help that truck. So there's a lot of ramifications for the roads the way they are. And it's my fault because I've known about this for 7 or 8 years. It's not your fault, it's not your crew. Your crew does a great job. Just the town gotta wake up and start thinking about putting money into roads. You know what I mean? The kids are gonna fall out of the bus seats going to the school.
That's why we're here today, to ask for
I
more money.
understand,
for
but
the
we're not even putting a Band-Aid on it. You know what I mean? The city of Quincy puts out bids for $10 million, then another bid for another 10 million, they bond it. They do this curb and the sidewalks. You know what I mean? So we're way behind the 8 ball here.
Yeah, we just learned today that Quincy has gone up several points on their RSRs.
But it's not,
Last few
your
years,
you know,
yeah.
you did a tremendous work. We've had our head in the sand for years.
Mr. Wells, do you have your hand
So
up?
I thought, so we've already, the capital, we've had these discussions, you know, $1 million today is not what it was 10 years ago. I thought we bumped it this year to 1.5.
Half a million.
Then we bumped it to 1.5 this year, right?
That's included on the
Oh, that's- that's-
1.5.
okay.
Yeah.
But I won't be here, but going, whoever is here, Mr. Driscoll's right. We're gonna have to find a way to fix that.
Yes. And that's the background to
Okay.
that conversation.
All right, we'll go to the next slide.
It's a thought-provoking slide.
Yeah.
Chapter 90 appropriations have relatively stayed the same for the past 10 years, except for in 2025 and 2026. We saw an increase due to the state budget allocations generated from the fair share amendment. So basically, it's definitely been helping the community with that statewide increase. Next slide, please. The pavement management challenges and innovations. So just so I wanted to put it out there because we get the same questions over and over again. Most people think that the worst first approach is the best, but our engineering shows that the most cost-effective approach is, which includes a lot of proactive maintenance on roads, is where we're keeping those conditions upkeeping with the conditions, rather than waiting for the roads to be completely deteriorated, where we gotta do now a full reconstructions, which can cost, so many times over, just continue to maintain that road with a good score. That's the approach that this engineering team has placed over the last, even before I was here. But we definitely have been seeking additional treatments. That's why you have seen treatments being done. Obviously, they are, carefully selected so that we get the best results. Some example are we've been using microsurface, which is just a thin layer on a good set of asphalt. Example, we did that on Pleasant Street, we did that on Reedsdale. We have also several roads that we have been using fog seal. I believe I came here before and explained to you that a fog seal is kind of like your UV protector for the road. You will get that road to maintain that score longer without the cracks coming up. We also have been widely used crack seal as well, the 2-inch mill and overlay. In this next year, we're going to be use a CIR, which is the code in place recycle, which is a bit more environmentally friendly and a little less costly way of, and less invasive way of doing full reconstruction on roads. So again, our team has really been seeking all these other alternatives and all the tools in the toolbox in order to stretch our dollar further. Again, as noted before, despite the increase in amount of roads treated and the increase on both of our budget and the roadway budget, we have seen the roadways score having decreased. You see that in 2022, our roadway score was 64.85. Again, townwide, 2024 was a 63. 2025 is 61.88. So if you wanna, it's hard to picture, right? Because like you're trying to look at how did our average town of Milton score? How does the 64.8? It's imperceptible, but it is just a way to measure it and discuss. But in this summary, you will see that in 2025, using all of the alternatives, we treated 8 miles of of our roads. In 2024, it was 11 miles, and the numbers below are year pass. Next slide, please. So completed pavement work from fiscal year 2023 to 2026. In calendar year 2023, we did 4.41 miles of road. Those numbers are basically the summary of that table that you saw in the previous slide. And in the tables that you also have it in details, you have the streets and what kind of treatment they were done, and the total amount of work completed for the roadway surface. Again, proposed calendar year 2026, 2027 is 11 and a half miles of roadways. You also have a detailed table for that. And the proposed costs is $1.88 million. Next slide, please. Next slide talks about what we have completed. We have completed 125 wheelchair ramps from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2026 for a total of both sidewalks and curb ramps of $3 million worth of work. And for next year, we have 2.42 miles of sidewalks planned to be done, 29 ramps, and the proposed construction cost is $1.16 million.
Right, it might just be helpful to just explain the curb ramps and sidewalks, because we're not doing all of them, but we have to do them sometimes.
Yes, so the way that the Chapter 90, when we're using Chapter 90 allocations, we affirm that we are doing ADA compliant. Wheelchair ramps get done when one is not there. A lot of our roads, even though we're doing a road, it already has a the sidewalk, we will not hit the sidewalks, we will not redo the sidewalks unless we are already doing the water main. And sometimes National Grid comes in and does the gas as well. So once we have the water main and the gas done, because all of those services have now disrupted the sidewalks, that's when it's best for us to just get the sidewalks done. Again, if we're doing the road and the sidewalks are in good shape, we might just pinpoint locations that are pinched due to ADA compliance, and we'll treat those in a more cost-effective way rather than repaving, resurfacing a sidewalk that is in good shape. Because sidewalks are very, very costly, and we are trying to, again, focus on the same pool of money. Wheelchair ramps, it's mandated by the state, so when we are doing a roadway curb to curb, you will see us come in and do the wheelchair ramps with the plates and all of that. That also reminds me to mention to you that when we are giving the budget of upcoming, our pavement budget, we know which roads we're doing water main work, and then that usually triggers National Grid to come in and do the gas. We are also reviewing, I mentioned that to you, we are also looking at the drain and the sewer, because the last thing we want to do, although it does happen with the best of our intent, is we don't want to reconstruct the road and then have a water main break. Happens all the time. But we try to get the utilities done first, and then we do the road. What is to the point of increasing the budget or the pavement, which is fantastic, DPW wouldn't be any more happy with that being said, is we are going to start with the increased money of paving. We start running out of budget to keep up with the water main, because we also have the same issues. Those budgets have not been increased over the years. We've always allocated $596,000, which I'll get to in a second, for the water main, and 1.15 for the sewer. So we are gonna start getting a limited amount of, okay, now I cannot really change with the water main, even though I know I'm gonna do a pavement reconstruction. So we are going to start seeing more breaks, potential breaks in a brand-new paved road, which is not ideal. But again, it's kind of the leveling budget. If I am unable to do all the water mains, I'm not treating the roadway from the ground up anymore. We're doing our best. We consider that all the time, but just something to think about.
And I'll just add, the one thing that we've talked about is the $596,000 that Marina mentioned is the amount of water main work that MWRA issues to the town to take advantage of for a 10-year no interest bond for water work. So we've worked within that constraint, but we can, issue, or we can approve a $2 million bond for water work, borrow that over 20 or 30 years and pay it back over a longer time at a low interest rate that the town is able to secure. So we've limited ourselves in the past on only doing the water main work to the extent that we get interest-free loans from MWRA, but we don't have to. It's a choice we made. It's not a choice we have to stick to. So to Marina's point, if we are going to increase the roadway pavement budget, we should also look at increasing the water main budget so that we're able to stay in tangent, in correlation together, rather than have them kind of diverge. So that's one thing we've talked
Because
about in future
otherwise
years.
it's like you're throwing good money after
That's right.
bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's something we've been talking about.
And then once you do it, you can't stop it. It's just gonna be perpetual.
Mr. Driscoll.
Marina, some of these roads, you'd only have to reclaim half of it. You know what I mean? Because they're in such bad shape. Like that center lane, it's down off Coolidge. You only have to do half that road. Plane it, do a layer on the bad part. The other part, I understand you want to do pipes and everything else underneath it. That might survive long enough. That's just my thinking. I don't know. A lot of this stuff, I'm thinking like do half of the, do the damage area, plane it, put the new hot top in?
We do that in areas, for example, when I talked about the micro. It's supposed to, the micro only goes in a fairly good surface. So we come in and we actually do repair of trenches that are in bad shape. So they're nice trenches, then we come in with the micro. We could have a similar approach, but with the pavement, with the 2-inch mill and overlay, that does cause damage to a 1916 year-old pipe. And for most roads that we're treating with mill and overlay, it's a 2-inch mill and overlay here, and then the cost effectiveness, you might as well just do the entire road, because just by mobilizing the crews to that site, they're not going to come in and skip in the cost that we get. And also, like what we see with roads, it might have aged, but it's the same macadam, it's the same subsurface, so we're dealing with the same sort of treatment throughout. So we actually have a schedule before we hit certain roads and certain treatments where we do cores of the road, so we select the best approach for that road. So next slide is the infrastructure project. So again, jumping into what we just talked about, we do have a 10-year a look ahead. We have a capital plan for where we need to hit our water mains from fiscal year 2023 to 2032. That is based on our water main models. It looks at fire flow deficiencies. It looks at age and materials. And we use that plan, which is basically a table and tells us where we're going to go next, to coordinate with a roadway pavement. Again, the greatest scenario for a DPW and engineering team is that integration of all of the infrastructures. I look at my water mains, I know where I want to go with my roadways. I look at, we just talked about traffic calming. You come in and you hit, okay, is this my traffic calming? So you have, and we are establishing that in our team, where because you're going to hit a road, what are the other things that we're looking at, so that when we hit one road, people might get frustrated with us, but we're doing it all. So you do you do all of the types of treatments that need to be done once. Again, with the funding source currently is the town appropriation, which is led by the historical MWRA loan and grant programs. But if we can start going out of that, we should really be increasing, we should think about increasing that appropriation, because we were doing 5 streets with our water main work, 5, 6 streets, and now we can barely do 3 a year. We actually putting out, look at the projects that we have completed. We are doing a bigger project every 2 years in order to get that engineering cost effectiveness. So we put out a larger bid project over every 2 years. Next is the sewer capital project. The sewer capital project, we aim in reducing infiltration and inflow. That allows the town to lower the MWA treatment costs, because we get metered for water that should not really be going down the sewer, but we do get metered, and we need to pay those costs, which are substantial to the MWA. So MWA also does more in terms of loans and grants associated with sewer, because reducing I&I equals to less treatment, so they don't have to expand their own treatment plants. So also, we have been historically focusing on what is called trenchless technology. So even though you're not seeing us rip up the sewer, it doesn't mean that we're not there. We're just doing it in a trenchless way, and we are building that pipe within a pipe, which I'm historically known to carry around that sample. I don't know why I don't have it. It's in his office.
No, we don't need it. We got it.
Then completed projects, we had the ones that we did have to open cuts for in 2023, and then 2024, we had $1.28 million of sewer trenchless technologies that got done over 29,000 linear feet of pipes and manholes. Upcoming projects, please, next slide. Right now, what we have in the queue for this year and this year is the lead services replacement project for the water main, which you all have heard me talk about, where we're going to come in, replace 49 lead services, do test pits. We came in at a bid cost of 1.2. Our construction estimate was 1.8, which is great. And we'll start working next May with Rotondi. So those folks that are listening in, if they receive a letter from our town, you're probably one of the test pits or replacement projects. So people will start getting that information, will be coming out. Also, we are currently bidding next month, the water main projects for these upcoming streets. Work won't start until summer of this year. And then for sewer, we're designing for an expected fall start date of various locations throughout town to continue the work that has already been analyzed, and we are going to be doing CIPP lining based on the historical information we've come through from previous studies and review of our sewer systems. Last slide on is the stormwater capital project. Basically, what we have done, our last BMP, which is the best management practice, which is was at the Cunningham stormwater structure. That was completed for a design cost of $33,000, total construction cost of $197,000. We have a complete website. Please, everybody, check it out. And then we just came out with an educational video that we have been using for the 5th grade students from Cunningham to learn about managing stormwater, how to improve the quality of the brooks, and use what we call really biomimicking. You're using existing surfaces to treat the stormwater. And one is not to confuse stormwater with sewer. There's a lot of, but they're not the same. Fortunately, we don't have a combined system here in town, so that is why, Milton is it's amazing. We don't have a combined system, and we are an MWRA community. On the horizon, we are furthering a design at another location. That will be Brook Road and Center Street. We have applied for a grant, and once that is announced, if awarded, we will then start the public outreach related to that project. So with that being said, I know it's a lot. That's the capital projects. If you have any questions, concerns.
I know we were asking questions during the presentation, but members are certainly welcome to ask other questions. Mr. Daly, your hand's up.
Marina, thank you, not only for the presentation, but for your work. I'm not sure if I'll be able to see you before your last day, but thank you for all the work you've put in and your dedication to this town. You actually started your presentation with exactly where I was going to go with the number for what all of our roads would cost. I think you're at that 22.5 million. My first question is, what is included in that number? Is that just labor? Is it cost of materials? And over what time frame would you say that 22.5 million would get us to all of these addressable issues just on the roadways?
Yeah. Can we go back to that slide, please?
Committee just had a heart attack.
I'll start off I'll answer in detail as Nick is pulling up the slide, but I just want to start off is that it's not the best practice for us to just tackle the $22.5 million, because then they were going to age all at once again, and then we're going to be in that same predicament. Although people say that roadways don't, I have heard several different numbers. Some say that a road will age in 20, 25, 30 years, but they age at different different rates. Also, we're a very blossoming community. People are always cutting, requesting to cut through. So then again, the $22.5 million will not include the infrastructure underneath it. So then we're gonna have a brand-new road everywhere, but with 1916 water mains at some locations. So with that being said, that table under that, I know it's hard to read, Mr. Daly, but it's on
Yeah,
that link.
that's helpful for me.
It has the reclamation. So as you can see, reclamation would be required at 27 miles of our road, which is only 30% of our repair, but that alone costs 13 million. So again, trying to get ourselves away from waiting for a road to need a reclamation, because that is what is going to cost us the most. So then when you are able to treat just with 2-inch mill and overlay, which we are, according to our area, 25% of our roads would be a good candidate for mill and overlay. That is only $7 million. And then preventive maintenance. So that is very well detailed in this table. And if you go to this data report, it does have the ideal breakdown, which Sky did tell me, put that in there, and I said no. But it's 35%, I believe, that our roads would be good candidates for the preventive maintenance. It has a pie chart on how, what the cost benefit analysis is. Oh, there it is. Thank you. 35, the funding distribution by, that would be the ideal funding distribution for a community. Again, that's the idea of trying to maximize our roadway network for score as a unit rather than thinking, I live in the street, so I really want this street very passable.
Would that be the best practice to?
Yes, that is, the engineering community as a whole has determined that that is the best practice.
Okay, so to not do all the roads at the same time, but break them down in the way you have it in the pie chart and in that graph.
Correct. We try not to get our good roads that we've already invested in to get to the point where they need reclamation. And I know that it sounds like really far off, but it's not. You continue to maintain it while bringing up at the same time some of the ones that did fall through. And it is called a cost benefit analysis, which is all, it's that background that comes into when we are selecting the roads to move next. We select the roads based on what I need to do for water mains, because I'm gonna have to pave that road because I'm doing water mains. So that's a different driver. Then if I didn't have water mains, so that already accounts for a lot of a portion of the money related to the roads that we're gonna be in. Then I'm left with some money available for the year, right? The roads that I have not already spent from my water main jobs, and I had to pave because I did the water mains on that road. So that other money that is left, I use this cost benefit analysis in looking at, let's keep up the roads, let's maintain the roads we just did, let's look at what roads are, you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck first in order to increase the RSR for the entire community as a whole. So you're doing more work with the lesser amount of money.
So this sounds like a practice that you would use with a smaller pool of money, allocating the funds to where you can get as you said, the best bang for the buck. If you had a larger pool of money, let's say it was 25 million, is this the same practice that you would use?
It's still the same practice, but then I just get longer on my list. Because the list is every single, I don't know if it's on the, but I'd love to share that with you. Every single one of our roads has a cost benefit value to it, right?
We just allocated accordingly.
Then if you give me more money, I'm just gonna go further down my list based on my cost benefit value.
It's helpful. Other
There's
questions?
no motion. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Driscoll?
I just wanna thank you. You had your crew and you did a great job this winter. I saw you out in the truck myself, so you were out there plowing and stuff, you were out there, but you did a great job.
She
You
knocked
and
over
your
the curb in front of my
personnel.
house.
Thank you.
You know, you work with a bunch of great people that
Thank you,
people don't
appreciate
realize
that.
they can be doing a water main break that morning and then plowing snow 12 hours later. We're very fortunate to have the work crew we have. But you did a great job this winter. You can go out holding your head high,
Thank you,
and you were out there.
appreciate that.
But just think, I live on Randolph Ave. I went through a full major reconstruction and 2 road resurfacing in the last 23 years. The state's done that road 3 times. 1 full reconstruction and 2 repaving. So I'm very fortunate. Seriously, to have that road done that many times.
You're welcome. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, goes to you too.
Joking. No, not me.
Seriously.
Not me. Sorry, I
She's
can't,
gonna have to recuse
I
herself.
can't help cracking
But
jokes.
think about it. In 23 years, they've done that road
Yeah.
3 times.
There's a lot of traffic on the road.
You know, and I'm just comparing that to some of our roads. You know, but you can go out holding your head high, and like I said, none of this is your problem. You know what I mean? It's a town issue. And it's been around, been known for a while, you know, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Wellston?
No motion on this, right? So
We don't have a motion
So, the same, I told you in your office last week. Take this winter and put a notch in your gun belt. That's a good thing.
I
So,
think that's why she got a new job.
yeah. You know how hard, like,
No,
it's a lot of work and,
yeah,
you
We are
know,
very grateful for your service.
thank you.
Yeah.
the crew's amazing. You all are very lucky. You have a very good team. It was great working with Nick. Nick, it was always a great sounding board.
Who's he?
And just a great group of folks. Very proud to say that I was part of the team, and you're in excellent hands here with Darwin and Sky. Again, just the entire team.
Is he in the
It's
sky?
fantastic.
Yes, in the sky.
I'm still here.
So, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you both very
Yeah.
much. Mr. Hart's been waiting here
I know he
for
has.
our next
God
item
bless
for
him.
2 hours,
Yeah.
so let's, we'll move along, but again.
All other
thank you for your
questions will be
service.
offline.
Yes.
I do have some, but I'll just shoot you guys an email.
Okay,
Very, very intriguing.
all right. Great.
No, it's okay.
Go visit a 629 Randolph Ave, back office on the right. It's actually, when I was in it's so bright now compared to, I was describing to her what your office used to look like under a couple of prior directors. Oh, my God.
All right, so we are gonna move along.
Thanks, Darwin.
Thank you.
Thank you
Nice to
again.
meet you.
Nice to meet you all.
Our next item, number 8, discussion update from the Equity and Justice for All Advisory Committee, and we have Mr. Chris Hart here from that committee.
Very much, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I'm very happy to both wait my turn and to listen in.
Municipal government at its finest.
No, I'm very happy to be here this evening as the chair of the Equity and Justice for All Committee. This is the latest in several conversations that we've been having since at least the fall regarding primarily the recommendations and the state of the recommendations that the Equity and Justice Committee provided in its report in 2021. In the fall, just as a way of table setting and reminder for this board as well as for anybody watching, in the fall, I presented the members of the select board with just a list of the recommendations that was taken from the full report that was provided. A subcommittee of the select board, as well as myself, met to discuss how we can maybe pare that down into a manageable set of recommendations for discussion. That's what you have in front of you now. I sent that on Sunday. And I'm happy to use this as a basis for discussion. A couple of other updates and maybe one way of framing the conversation. One update is that we're down to 8 members. I think we might even be down to 7. There might be either a pending resignation or not. And I think the maximum number is 11. Obviously, and reappointments will come over the summer. From my perspective, having a full board is important. A full committee is important. There should be a cross-section of the town talking about, I think, fairly important issues. And I think as an advisory committee to this board, having a fully staffed committee, I think, is probably going to provide the select board in the town with the most value. So I would encourage the select board to, if we have enough applicants, to maybe consider whether we should make new appointments. And if we don't, maybe we can figure out how to get more applicants. So that's one issue. The other is, I don't necessarily have an ask coming out of this meeting, other than that we continue to have a conversation. My hope is that this paring down gives us something that we can shoot at. The point here, from my perspective, on behalf of the Equity and Justice for All Committee, is that we move the ball forward in implementing actionable recommendations. It's been 5 years now. Obviously, the landscape has changed. There may be things that the select board wants to focus on that the Equity and Justice Committee has not. But that is the purpose here, is that we can get to actionable items. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions or follow up in the discussion.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from the members?
Much of this, I'm aware, at least for me, much of this I'm aware of. I mean, we've been, we're 5 years into this, more than 5 years. At least for me, in my, at least from my prior life, especially on the back page, from hiring and diversifying the departments. During the chiefs before me, my time in the current chief. Hiring is in the civil service community, it's a very difficult thing right now, because it's been a couple of op-eds just in the past week. There's like a national crisis on recruiting nationwide, trying to get people to go into the police profession. It's very difficult. But there are definitely some points well taken in this thing. Police department.
If I can respond to a couple of comments, I think it's something that we identified as well, and it felt like an intractable problem then when it came to police and fire in particular, given civil service, and it feels like one now. The recommendation that we've continued to identify as a priority in this pared down list, and these are the priorities, right? Which is not to say that we've abandoned the rest, but rather that we want to make sure that that we're focused, is to have a standing committee of some kind that continues to liaise with police and fire on these issues. What that standing committee looks like, we're open to discuss. It could be a joint standing committee between the select board and the Equity and Justice Committee, but somebody that interfaces to essentially continue to make sure that we can have a dialogue with both police and fire, so we can find out what the gaps are, where we can be helpful, and maybe, I understand that some of these issues are outside of the control of police and fire, but some of them may not be. And so what I think would be a mistake would be to continue to take snapshots in time, because then we'll never move the ball forward that way. I think we'll need to have a continued dialogue. The other thing I forgot to mention in part of my table setting comments is that one of the questions that I received in the fall was, are we only talking to the select board? And I think I had mentioned that we were creating liaisons to talk to the other board. Those meetings have happened, and they're continuing to happen. So we're starting to have, I think, a pretty good cadence of meetings with the other elected boards.
Questions or thoughts from the members? I have my own, but
You need a motion?
I don't think we need a motion, but I think probably what we ought to do is just look through this quickly and see if there are there are going to be some items that we may want to revisit, at a future time when we've all had a little more thought. But I think some of these are probably actionable, at least that we can start tasking folks to do certain things. And so if there are no objections, I think maybe we could.
I just have a quick question.
Yes, please.
So these recommendations, are these, items that currently are not happening?
That's right.
Okay, at all?
That's, well.
Or is like some of it like, hey, do more of this?
Well, let's give you a concrete example. So the very first one on page 1, townwide DEI statement and policy, et cetera. The report had a proposed policy. I received a different proposed policy from Mr. Milano in January. There are iterations of a policy that have been out there that have never been, to my knowledge, implemented. So some of these may reflect some work that has been done. Another, I think, is coming into compliance with 40B. Well, we're working on that. But there are others where it's not really clear that any work has been done. We've had conversations with the subcommittee around a DEI dashboard, for example. There's some merit, there are some issues, but we haven't really moved that forward. So in some of these there might be a spectrum.
So,
Please, Ms. Haggerty.
yeah, I mean, I think for some of this, for me, I think the list is good. I think for some of this, for me, it's like kind of getting to a level of specificity of like, what do we mean by a townwide DEI statement and policy?
Sure.
Like what are like the minimum criteria for such a policy, right? And if we have some floating around, is there one that meets the criteria that we could just approve? Like, why haven't we approved it yet? And also too, with, the dashboard, like the state of DEI to the town, like can that be something as simple as just what is the composition of our workforce? And having that reported on and a statement of what that reflects. So I don't know if I'm being clear, but I think scoping is, to me, like most challenges come down to, a matter of scoping appropriately. But is there a way we can get to that or come to it? And are you saying that you think we should determine the appropriate scope?
So, let's let Mr. Hart respond and then I have my thoughts.
So I'm happy to do whatever would be most effective for the board. The Equity and Justice Committee, because it's an advisory board, all we can do is recommend and advise. But if there are, my goal here, what would be great is if this board were to say, you know what, there are these 3 things that we think we can accomplish between now and the next meeting in May. So let's do those 3 things. Let's vote on a policy by May. Let's come up with what a dashboard's gonna look like by May, and let's do one other thing. That would be great. And then we can focus on that as a committee, come back with very specific recommendations, make those votes, and then work on the next thing. That might be a way to proceed.
Because we may have divergent, with things like this, like we may have a divergent view on definition of success or completion, right? That I just wanna call out.
You have to go now?
Yeah.
Take a medication, pardon me.
Don't collapse here.
I'll do it later.
As long as you won't pass out. Mr. Wells.
So I wanna wait till you were done. Are you
No, I'm done.
So just 2 points. So I agree with Ms. Hager. So just a couple points. Because I'm near the end here, as you know. So in the affordable
Just a new
housing
beginning, Mr. Wells.
category, we've done a lot. We're so close to being in compliance. I mean, we're actually had a talk with a developer today who, don't divulge who or where, not a huge, but it would be enough that would, if approved, it would give us in that over 11%, would be in that. And I do have to give a shout out to specifically the police department because, and I said this in an immigration speech I gave last week. The most diverse areas I know in public government are policing. I don't know anywhere, like, my wife's in the Cambridge Police, they speak 35 languages. You gotta speak at least 10 over here. I mean, the police department that I joined in 1984 is such a different reflection of what this community is. And not to say, and I don't say it, that it's not always an issue, but you've gotta give Chief King and the team, like, they've done really an amazing job. And I'm not taking any credit for it, because I know what went on in my own 10 years, but it's been at the forefront long before this committee even started. And if you go to any roll call, you see who's standing on details, you see the makeup of the men and women that make that police department. They are, not to say, again, that you have to forget about, but they are a reflection of what this community is. And I have to give some credit to them, because those aren't easy things to do. It's hard to recruit and hire a diverse workforce. And I give them a shout out for doing it, because, as you know, Miss, when you see the people who get hired each and every day, from the young cadets who come in to the patrol officers who go to the police academy. So those two things I wanna, because this board worked really hard, and especially in my first 5 years here, we went through some really tough 40B projects, which are completed, in the process of being completed, and it took us from, I think I came in with 4.9, and we're like just under 10 now, like we're almost there. So you gotta give the people who made that happen some credit for that, because those were hard here. I mean, we had some nights in this room where it was absolutely packed, and but we knew it was gonna happen, and we were gonna do it. And so that's just I understand this is an ongoing issue and always will be, but I think you have to give credit to the people who've really done a lot to try and work on this issue and have got positive results from it.
Well, so let me make a comment to that, and then maybe I can make a couple of concrete suggestions to move this forward. So, one of the things that impressed me, I was on the subcommittee with regard to police and fire when the original report was drafted. And Chief King and Chief Madden always made themselves available. They were always honest. We had long conversations, and I very much appreciated that. So I have no doubt about their sincerity, their commitment, and the work that both do. But I think two things can be true at the same time. That can be true. It can also be true that we need to have some kind of continued dialogue to make sure that we're moving the ball forward on DEI. And I know you would agree with that.
I do agree.
Yeah. And that might be one thing that we could, that strikes me as low-hanging fruit. So having some kind of standing committee there. A policy is low-hanging fruit. I think we can do that. A dashboard might take a little bit more time, but I think could be something that we could probably achieve. Having some kind of report of the state of DEI to the town, in addition to the dashboard, I think could be something we can achieve. Let's focus on those for the next 30 days, or however long until the May meeting after there's an election.
You want the number?
To take the temperature on those, actually try to get that work done, have a conversation again to see where those are, and then work on the next set of priorities, if I can make that suggestion.
You can make any suggestions.
I've now made it.
So I just wanna, just a couple of quick thoughts as well. So when we talk about DEI, we don't just mean racial, equity, we mean LGBTQ, we mean religious equity.
It's very broad in the charter.
It's very broad, so we can feel like we've done a great job on a DEI front in a certain way. And then at the same time, we haven't, expanded women's access, for example, or we haven't, so there are, you can make progress, but you also have to make sure that and that's where I think a townwide statement really comes in handy, because it helps us kind of keep in mind the bigger, broader picture of what DEI is. And I think that is something that we should work on. And not to take away the work of anyone who has, take away from the work that people have done, but this town has been dragged kicking and screaming across the finish line for affordable housing. And the reason that we are being dragged kicking and screaming across the finish line is because we have failed for 40 years to come up with a comprehensive plan for affordable housing. And so we have had these 40Bs foisted upon us because of our inaction. So while we've been trying to do, I think, a good job of dealing with our inaction at this point, it's not, I don't know if that I would celebrate inaction and the fact that we have these big 40B projects because we failed to come up with a plan for years and years and years. So that said, I agree with Mr. Hart on this. I also agree that I think DEI, as an issue is probably going to be looked at differently by different members of this board, but I think it's a very important thing to try to get started. And I know that you've drafted an initial statement. I know that we've looked at comparable statements from other towns. And I think it might be worthwhile at our next meeting to, as an agenda item, revisit, circulate the draft statement from the committee to this body, give people a chance to have think about whether they want to make edits, changes or anything like that. I don't see why we couldn't vote on that next week. Yes,
May I,
Mr. Hart.
sir, I love that idea. I would agree with that idea, but I think that there's one, the long pole in the tent, the thing that might be holding everything up there is, I understand that there might need to be council review
That's
of
true,
the
yeah.
policy. So
And we probably need to do first and second.
I think it probably needs to be alongside this because, or even understanding what the art of the possible is with legal counsel, making edits and then seeing if there are any issues raised, I think will be important. So I defer to you and Mr. Milano in terms of how you want to handle the conversation with council.
So I think what we could do, and Mr. Milano or anybody else could jump in if I'll just finish this thought, Mr. Wells, and then I'll turn it over to you. We could at least start the ball rolling next week of an initial review and then kicking things to general counsel, kicking them, to a first and second reading. But I think we need to have, if we don't take a concrete first step, then we won't take any steps at all. That's my opinion, Mr. Wells.
You and I aren't gonna be able to have a first and second reading.
I know.
So, I take it, this was drafted by an attorney, so I'm sure you had your attorney's hat on.
Well, that was the one I drafted, but then there was a second one. I can't account for that.
So, I know.
Although it looked fine to me.
So, has town council seen this?
No, perhaps in the past, but not since, not recently, and not current town council, for that matter.
So
I think it's also helpful to be very clear about which policy we're talking about, because there's one that was drawn in 22 by the consultant that, and I think the committee had looked at one as well, so I just want to make sure
Committee drafted one.
Okay.
And you sent me one in January.
That an internal employee group had been working on
That's right,
as well.
and which I think is maybe the latest that was worked on. I'll say from my perspective, I think it probably checks the boxes. But it needs to be vetted both from a policy perspective as well as from a legal perspective.
Mr. Wells.
The internal one? You're referring to the one that Mr. Milano sent back to you with comments?
Yes, there were no comments. It was a new policy. Let me back up.
Change, so,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right, yeah. Let's, I think for purposes of this discussion, I think we can assume that the one that we are working with is the one drafted by the consultant as opposed to the one drafted by the committee.
Mr. Chair, I have an idea.
Mr. Wells.
Mr. Milano, if it were feasible, do you think town council, if they had enough time, and members favored it, that we could have a special meeting for, actually just a quick day, perhaps?
I
I mean, I know next Tuesday is our last meeting, but we're still in office until 28th. I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't even know whether, I'm trying to give everybody a piece of the pie.
And town council will be at our meeting next week as well. I don't know if
Okay.
that helps, but that's just
So,
as a reminder.
I appreciate what you're saying, Ms. Wells. I think that might be a good next step is we can still discuss it at our next meeting, have town council review, and then from that discussion, we can decide whether or not we wanted to go on to have a special meeting prior to the election to approve or at least to encourage the approval of by a future select board. Or we could decide that we'll let the next iteration of the select board make up its mind about that.
You're the chair, I'll leave it with you.
Yeah.
But if the majority of the board members feel that, and if that is viable alternative,
So why don't we plan on, at least, if you could, Mr. Milano, circulate that draft back to this board, circulate it back to the committee so that they have a chance to look at it and add any thoughts that they might have. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to have a meeting before.
It may or may not happen, but I don't think that's gonna hold it up.
Okay. And then we can decide, next week what we think the next steps are, but I think we probably should have it as an agenda item for discussion.
Okay.
And then having something concrete that the members can react to, I think would be helpful.
Chair,
Mr. Wells.
I do worry that if you don't, then a new board's comprise and start again, and then you just get pushed back and you have 6 months and not have the same conversation.
We can be squeaky wheels.
Oh, I know that. Well, we're used to squeaky wheels here, but I'm just trying to.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that as well. And then in terms of so some of these recommendations I think are specifically for other boards to consider, like the school committee should be looking at the school's recommendations.
But we're always happy for the select board's input.
Always happy to give input as well. I think the standing committee regarding diversity and I'm assuming that's police and fire department hiring. Is there a reason why we wouldn't include other town departments in that specifically, like DPW or?
I can't think of any particular reason not to. I think the question that raises is which should be the voices in that room? I mean, the reason that the recommendation, if I recall, it's been some time, I think the reason the recommendation was framed with this language was precisely because it wasn't clear who should be in that room. So I certainly think a member of the select board, certainly think the chiefs, and then the question is, beyond that, who should be in there?
Yeah. Because I appreciate that. I also wouldn't want to make police and fire feel like they are being singled out for,
Of course.
particular behavior that may be evident in other school departments.
No, the way I would think about the category here is, the reason that we singled out police and fire is because of their particular hiring practice under the civil service law. And some of the limitations that were, and as well as the union contracts that they're a part of. So put them in a separate category. So as long as, if we're thinking about hiring from the perspective of categories that are similar to or the same as police and fire, I think that's fine. But if we're putting in other departments where it's not analogous, it might not be as helpful.
I hear what you're saying, and that makes sense to me. Do we have examples of committees like that in other towns that we could use?
I'm not aware of it. I wasn't aware of one when we were doing this research. I'm not aware of one now. Doesn't mean one doesn't exist. It might very well be that we'd be creating precedent. But I'd be happy to look that up and have a discussion at the next meeting.
I think that would be helpful, because we'd also want to have, I would want to make sure that Chief Madden and Chief King had a chance to kind of input on what this committee looked like as well, because they have their own, as Mr. Driscoll.
Mr. Hart, sorry, I don't understand. I thought civil service, you scored the highest the points, you go to the process of getting hired. I don't know why you're trying to say that it's not right.
So there are a couple of issues. The first is that it was not entirely my understanding that it was that straightforward. And since our research in 2020, 2021, the way in which civil service works has changed after the legislature created a standing committee to look at precisely this issue. So we haven't examined the question of police and fire and what options they have with regard to diversity in hiring since then. So I think that's part of the issue, but I've never understood the question to be that straightforward.
I thought that's the way it is.
I'm disagreeing.
don't know.
That's where I think having the chief's input would also be helpful,
Yeah.
because I think they would also be able to shed some light on that, on those
So
policies.
you're saying an equity committee can decide who the fire department and the police hire?
That's not what I suggested, no. It would be worth going back to the report.
See, I'm new at this, so I don't.
I understand.
You know, but from what I understood, my father was a fireman. You scored the highest on the test, you got hired. So you're trying to say that's flawed?
What I'm trying to say is I don't think it precisely works that way.
It may have worked that way in the past, but it may not be 100% that way currently. And that's not to, that's just the state of affairs currently as it is. It's not reflective of whether or not we create a committee to look at this.
But no equity committee will be the deciding factor who gets hired, right?
No.
Oh, all right.
It's more of a,
Civil service, we would have to leave civil service in the first place. I would also note that, you know, a written exam may not be the best metric to use to evaluate who would be the best police officer, who would be the best firefighter. So I think that is certainly a place to have a conversation about. And the law, actually Cody, when he worked at the legislature, worked on the commission and ultimately changed some of the procedures around hiring under civil service. And we have requested from the state to set up the alternative list for police. And are looking at doing so as well for fire. So there's different pathways to look at now. So it sounds like a broader conversation about what are the benefits, what are the limitations, and what are best kind of steps or best procedures moving forward on that specific example for police and fire. I think it was called out at the time when the report was being done. There was a lot of discussion about hiring practices and diversification of public safety. So I assume that's where the original focus came from. But since then, there have been a lot of changes that it's worth talking about.
Yeah, and that's part of what this reflects is that because that was a snapshot in time. And I'm happy to know that we have learning here that we can draw from. We haven't since updated, and I think that will take some work, but I also, again, I think it's one of these things where taking sort of periodic snapshots isn't gonna be helpful to the town. I do recall, now that you mentioned this, that we took a serious look at whether we should recommend leaving civil service for precisely this reason. And we decided not to, and I think that was one of the things that animated the recommendation of having a standing committee, is to look more closely at the issue, especially in light of the recommendations coming out of the legislature.
Mr. Daly, oh, sorry.
Me too.
I learned they're gonna close Chickatawbit, and now this.
They're not close to Chickatawbit.
Mr. Daly.
I'll leave further comments until I see that policy that's being circulated. I am very cautious and mindful about what the statements say, as well as how what's in that statement is executed. I think, to John's point, one of the main ideas around DEI that's been muddied is that it's not about who gets the job, it's that who's even asked to apply. I believe Richard has shared his experience with hiring officers of color in the police force. It's also, I know in Boston, they have sort of their junior firefighters who are allowed to go into the pool. You are scored on not only your civil service test, but as well as your, veteran status, family, residency. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. So I believe when we're talking about a DI statement here in Milton, it's about who we're even asking to insert themselves into the pool before we even get to the piece on who gets hired. I don't know much about the rest of it. I have not been in that world, but I think that's an important piece for us to really put the context around what these statements are about. It is about who we are inviting and who feels included and who is now more welcome into, whether it is police, fire, generally in the community. That's kind of the purpose of these statements. So I'll wait to see what you send around, Nick, and have some comments on that.
I agree with that, and I would say, just to add one more thought, from my perspective, it's a necessary floor of accountability, but will never be sufficient.
So the police department,
Mr. Wells.
So the police department, seeing this 30 years ago, joined two other agencies, Boston and Cambridge, and passed Chapter 147, which created the cadet law, which allowed you to go out and recruit young men and women in communities outside of just your community. Allowed you to use that system to diversify the recruitment of who you hire, which not just started that. I mean, it's you start with Chief King, who's a cadet. I mean, you go all the way down. I mean, the men and women, so many of the young men and women who are on that job today. I mean, our marriages with the men. I mean, I'm proud of it. I mean, I know, maybe, because when I walk away and I look at the makeup of that police department and the makeup of this community, that body reflects the community more than any other department. You go to roll call, and roll call is made up of, and not just color, or in language and speech, in LBGT, all of it. And that is something that, not to say, you could say, it's not a box you check. It's a philosophical way you look at who you hire and who you put in the role to police your community. And I'm just giving it from a police perspective. I'm sure you would agree with me that you could take that example and include it into the whole community, but that's a hard thing to do. So that's why I don't want to make it, I wanted to say, reflect on the positives, because we have done a lot of good things, not just in my time, the chiefs before me and the existing chief. And I'm very proud of what they do, and they know that they know the makeup of what that is.
So I think, if I'm reading the room correctly, we could next week look at a statement and policy, at least to begin the discussion there. It seems like the committee is probably going to fall to the next iteration of the select board to think about, because I do think you're gonna have to get a couple of more folks to input before we can set something up. That said, I will leave it to the three members of this body to continue that work, which I think we all believe is important to the town, to make sure that we have a representative, fantastic, highly qualified and representative, set of officers, set of firefighters, people across town. Any objections to that? Mr. Hart, does that sound like a good path forward to you?
It sounds like a good path forward.
Okay, and we'll look forward to your committee's input as well, if you want to, as Mr. Milano circulates that policy.
Sure, and I'll be happy to come to that meeting or have,
Yeah.
I'll be happy to come to that meeting or to have somebody from the committee come, if that would be helpful.
That would, I'm sure, be helpful. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all, I appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. All right, and Mr. Daly, I also know that you had hoped to be on the road at this point, and coming home from your proud parent experience, and just want to let you know that anytime that you want to drop off, feel free to do that.
I'll be on for the next couple items, and then I will be hitting 95, but thank you.
Okay, we will try to make the next few items as quick as possible. Mr. Milano, we have a letter to the Massachusetts State Lottery Commission regarding a request for a Keno monitor at Milton Food Mart, 133 Brook Road.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we received, or the select board members actually received a letter in your email that there's been a request to install a Keno monitor, which would be a Keno screen essentially at the Milton Food Mart, which would allow customers to not only buy a Keno ticket, which you can in a number of stores in Milton, but to actually to watch games. And the request from the letter was that if there was any objection to that, to state the town's objection in writing by Friday, of this Friday, April 10th. So I was asked to include this on the agenda for the board's discussion. To my knowledge, that there is no other monitor elsewhere in town of an actual screen, but I may be mistaken in that assumption. So.
Mr. Wells.
So I believe, police chief's involved, I mean, I get it, so. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh. I think it was like a unanimous objection both times.
I don't know that this board is gonna be much different from that.
I'm with you.
I
I'm with
personally
you.
feel that gambling is a scourge, on, people and particularly.
Can't they look it up on their phone too now?
Yeah.
I don't think we should be doing anything in this town that furthers the,
Right.
that massive industry. Mr. Daly, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I asked Nick to add this to our agenda. I'm in line with the board. I don't think this is necessary. I don't think the Milton Food Mart reached out to us asking for it specifically. As John just said, folks can look at it online. There are a lot of other spaces. It doesn't hinder them from playing Keno, but having that standing screen and kiosk, I think is, it's a little too much in profiting off folks' vices. So I would not want to have this installed.
So I'll take
I'll
a,
make that as a motion. I'll make that as a
Second.
motion.
okay, motion's been made and seconded, to send a letter, rejecting, the request or the Keno monitor. If there's no further discussion, we'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Daly,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Wells? Ms. Hegarty?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Then, item number 10, we have discussion update approval, East Milton Fire Station RFP and appraisal report. Mr. Milano.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple updates. We did receive the appraisal report, which was sent in the packets. I'll members review that closely, but the bottom line is, in terms of a sale, they value the property at $900,000. In terms of a lease, the appraiser valued it at $62,000 annual potential fair market rent. They did note that in terms of the rental payment, their expectation would be that it would be a minimum of a 15-year lease with up to, minimum of a 10-year lease with up to 3 5-year options. So given that potential tenant, the runway to make the improvements that would be necessary and the fit out that would be necessary and having a long duration lease in that building because of, as the appraisal report noted, the work that would be required. They valued highest and best use as a restaurant on the first floor with residential on the second and maybe additional third floor residential, which would be allowed under the overlay zoning for the East Milton mixed use district. There would be challenges around parking, of course, but that was the basis of the appraisal report. I did as well circulate some comments the planning board shared regarding the RFP itself, which the board could look at. I know we've been busy with this evening's meeting. We could certainly take this back up if everybody wanted a week to look at everything and look at it for potential approval.
I think without objection, I think we could move this to next week because I have a feeling this might require some discussion. Is that fine?
Yeah.
All right,
So
so,
if there are any questions on the appraisal itself, they've been very responsive, so any questions, this is version 3, just based on some back and forth that I've had with them, so if there's any questions about the appraisal report, I can get answers prior to Tuesday. I'll recirculate both the RFP, the appraisal, and the planning board's comments as well to the members.
thank you, Mr. Daly, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm okay with moving this to next week as well. I would just encourage my fellow members to just take a look in that appraisal report to the like properties that they referenced. I thought those were really interesting because when I saw this appraisal of 900,000, I was really disappointed in that number. But they do an excellent job of breaking down why that is and also putting it in context of similar properties in other towns. Also, the rent number was also a little disappointing. I think they had it at 62.5 per year. And I think that also connects to some of the planning board comments where one was to not having the RFP, to not have it for sale and only for lease. But I would be of the mind, and again, we'll discuss this next week. I just wanted to say this now before I jump off. I'm of the mind that we still need to leave that RFP broad to see what offers we would get.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Daly. I agree with you on both counts. I think this will be a longer discussion for next week, and I agree with your sentiments. So Mr. Wells?
It is right in line with where I recall when we were buying the St. Agnes property. I don't know the company Webb Collins worked for. His company did an eval, and it's right there. It was like $950 then, and that's like 5 years ago. And so it's right. It didn't do the lease option, but to Mr. Did, it did do the. It was right there.
The only concern I have with leaving things broad to either a purchase or a lease is, sorry, go
So
ahead.
we are gonna discuss this next week,
Okay,
so
that's fine.
I might ask.
I'll
if
raise
someone's
my
looking at their
concerns
watch.
there.
I'm with you.
Yep.
I'm with you.
It's fine.
You'll have the chance
Yeah.
to state that in
Yeah.
detail, I think, next week. So.
Thinking of you.
Yes, I am. I've got several sleepy members on my board, and I try to
I'm
keep this as
awake.
early as
No, no,
possible.
I'm awake still.
I can tell.
I'm
like,
amped up.
Her Coke Zero has got her.
It's working tonight.
Oh, great. So we have item 11, committee reports, Select Board Finance Committee, Milton Budget Coordination Committee. Ms. Hegarty?
Mr. Chair, before we move on, I just
Mr.
want to say, I'm going to jump off, go to Wawa, get an energy drink, and head back to Milton. But I'll see you all in time.
He's down in Jersey.
All right.
Safe travels,
Yeah.
Mr. Daly, and we look forward to seeing you in person next week.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Well, with the Cumberland Farms.
Yeah.
But they have really good like deli and
Yeah,
the-
sandwiches,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like a cult. Like, yeah.
Do they want a fire station in East Milton?
That would,
That would be combining too many weird parts of my
Really?
life.
all right, Ms. Hegarty, all right, your Finance Committee and the Coordination Committee.
Okay, so there's not a lot to report on the finance committee because we've done all of our budget work for the select board, but for the budget coordination committee, the work has continued on our examination of aligning the budget development calendar across the town. School committee, warrant committee, that is coming along nicely. And then in our last meeting, we spent a decent amount of time conversing on what I would call like a gut check on various forecasts for getting out to FY30 before having another override. Just really digging deep into where various areas of growth have been and what it's going to take to get there. I think it's a very good conversation and one that we should continue to have year over year to manage everybody's expectations on spending and growth. And our plan is to continue doing that and to provide everyone with a report on that.
Wonderful. Any questions from the remaining member? No. Okay. So let's move along then to item 12, and returning. So this item number 12 is budget coordination committee charge, composition, and term. And so this, I asked for this to be added to the agenda after speaking with Mr. Walker, who is our citizen representative to that committee. And he expressed, and I agree with the sentiment, that this coordination committee has been a great success in terms of increasing transparency, in terms of helping the town project forward beyond what we normally do, and getting in front of earlier budget issues. So his sentiment was that we should re-up the coordination committee for another year. I think with this still that we would be reviewing memberships, I think would be expiring at the end of June. So that would still be up to the, I think, future select board in terms of who's being appointed to it. Mr. Milano, did you have anything else from the process perspective?
No, unless the board were to vote to extend the term, the committee is scheduled to sunset at the end of this fiscal year, so the board could at any time extend that term, and as you indicate, the members would still be subject to appointment or reappointment at a later date.
So my suggestion might be, and Ms. Hegarty, I appreciate your, as our representative there, seeing as this committee is trying to look forward to 2030, that it might make sense to have this committee extended to 2030 so that we continue to do that work. We don't have to continue to re-up it every year.
You want me to?
No, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any input on that?
No, I really think, so it's been I think a very good, fruitful process for everyone involved over the past, how many months feels like it's only been, we got started in what?
August.
Yeah.
August, yeah. So it's not
So
even
like
a year.
9 months. These are important conversations where people get on the same page and or air out disagreements. And again, sort of relating to my prior report, we've just kind of gotten into the place where we're digging into aligning some calendars. Mr. Walker's been great because he's been able to show us the way that prior warrant committees and school committees have aligned calendars. And I really do think that these conversations around various drivers of budget growth, I think those conversations need to happen annually so everybody sees in real time together where we're headed, so we can make these decisions. Like we will not get, I don't think we will get to 2030 if we don't keep having these conversations.
Right, so Mr. Wells has made a motion.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Driscoll. Any further questions or comments, or discussions?
You'll get to 2030, but you're getting a much bumpier road.
Yeah.
Yes. It will be.
Well,
It
it's
will have
gonna
a
be a
low-
bumpy
it'll have a
road,
low
but I mean, you know
score.
what I mean?
It's
It'll
going to
be-
be hard,
it'll be
yeah.
more-
And it's just one of those things, if this smooths out that conflict, I think it's worth the time putting it in.
We should have had Marina here to tell us how to get this. road to be
Yeah,
smooth.
exactly.
Um,
I don't know if Mr. Driscoll has anything.
No, so this is, you're like the warrant committee, then your group. Your group did a great job. It saved a lot of issues with the schools. You worked very good with them, and you came to a resolution. So it's sort of like a stopgap, I guess, right?
Yeah, or just like a forum for, I mean, it's really interesting to me, and I don't want to get too far into it because it is late, but, you know, a lot of big organizations like ours, like you have like top down, like you just do what the boss says. We've got like 5 different bosses who can do their own thing. Like it's crazy. So in order to have like strong governance in that type of situation, all the people with their, you know, lever they can pull, their power that they have, like we all have to like be on the hook together and accountable to the public. And I think that's what the committee does.
It's working good. I just trying, you know,
Yeah.
the people question,
The committee itself doesn't really have any authority,
sorry,
which is the beautiful part of it.
yeah.
Like we
It's
can't.
just a place to hash out differences.
Yeah.
sort of, yeah, it's working great.
Okay.
That's one of the things people ask me, well, you got the warrant committee and now this.
Yeah, we
You
don't.
said, well, it's working.
We're just bringing everyone to the table.
Yeah.
Warrant committee still does what they need to
Yeah.
do, and this
Exactly.
committee has no actual authority.
So, and then maybe just for the sake of clarity for the motion, would we say June 30th of 2030 is the sunset date? And then again, future boards can decide to continue this if they wish. Okay, so for no other discussion, we are now all in person, so we can just vote collectively. All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. All right, that is approved unanimously. Mr. Milano, do we have any updates on the fiscal year 27 budget?
No, we do not.
So,
It's off,
Somebody hit
almost
the
getting
lottery.
ready for town meeting.
Any updates on the town meeting warrant?
Yes, we included the warrant in the packet, except for the warrant committee comments, which were submitted last night. Final proofing is happening, so I'd be looking for the select board to approve the warrant itself this evening.
I will take that motion.
I make that motion. To approve it?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
The motion's been made to approve the town warrant for Wednesday, May 6th, 2026, and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Item 15 is fiscal year 25 select board annual report. Thank you, Mr. Wells, for authoring that and
Thank you, Lynn, for all your
collaboration.
the three of you, for
Of course.
thinking of things that I couldn't remember.
And it's an interesting walk down, like the memory lane for it. And it was only last year. It felt like
I know,
Lots
I was
happens.
like,
God.
wow, we really, speaking of Bumpy roads.
Yeah.
But I think
We
we got to a good
survived.
place. So I will take a motion to approve that report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved unanimously. We have, for discussion approval, committee appointments to the Milton Cultural Council, Joan Giancarski.
I'll make that motion to appoint Joan Giancarski and Karen Miller to the Milton Cultural Council for a 3-year term.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Discussion approval of one-day liquor licenses. Would
I'll
anybody
make
like to?
I'll make a motion to approve. Historic New England Eustace Estate located 1424 Canton Ave.
Second.
For the American Revolution, Saturday, June 13th, 2026, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. David Chestnut Jazz Festival, Saturday, August 8th, same location, August 8th, 2026, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Linda Lee Sheridan from Milton Music Fest, in Milton, June 20th, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. and June 21st, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Hutchinson Field. The Milton Academy located at 170 Center Street. The 2026 reunion, May 15th, 2026, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. 2026 reunion, May 16th, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Can I just want to make 2 quick comments, before we get a second. And you will probably know this, Mr. Wells. It sounded like the timing for the June 21st of this Sunday was different than this.
I was
Right,
actually gonna
exactly
ask
right.
that question
I just
too.
looked down, I didn't, you got it, I was just gonna,
So,
we're gonna make it,
let's-
amend my motion to,
We
5
amend
p.m. to
it?
10 p.m. on
I
both
think we
nights.
have to postpone this for the next meeting.
I would say let's just, because I want to have the application all matched, so why don't we'll just update it, we'll bring it right back next week.
I was gonna abstain on that one vote anyway.
So
I'm gonna remove item B.
And then now I'll take a second to that amended motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? I always say this, and I will say it one time, final time. The David Chestnut Jazz Festival at Eustace Estate. Mr. Wells, he's heard this a number of times. He is a fascinating Milton character. Really the godfather of jazz in the Milton scene. A black member of our community at the turn of this last century. I think everybody should know about him because I think having a festival at Eustace Estate for him is fantastic because that's where he worked for most of his life. Now, we've got a motion made and seconded. Anybody else want to wax poetic?
Oh.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 18, we have discussion approval meeting on March 10th, 2026, and March 24th, 2026. We'll have to take these as separate
So I'm gonna make a
items.
motion for the 24th, 2026 to March. Okay, I'll make a motion, yeah. I wanna make a motion for the second one, all members of March 24th, 2026.
Okay, motion's been made for approval of the meeting.
Second.
Mr. Driscoll, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll take a motion on the.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes dated March 10th, 2026.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions?
All abstained, yeah.
All right. Okay, town administrators report. Mr. Milano.
Thank you. The town election coming up on April 28th, right? Yeah, April 28th. If folks do want to apply to vote by mail, those applications can be taken and submitted now. We don't have in-person early voting for municipal elections, but you can vote by mail. You just need to apply, and then we'll need to return the ballot by 8 p.m. on the day of the election. But you can do that through the town clerk's website and submitting the application. The Community Preservation Committee round of grant review will start in the summer, but the first step in that process is to submit an eligibility application. Those are due at the end of May. Additional information, the application is available on the town website. the committee is also seeking the services of a few hours a week, not a lot of hours per year, but if you're looking for a small part-time job on the side, they're looking for a clerk or an assistant to help with their meetings and some of the paperwork that associates with the committees. That application and job opening is up on the town and a few others across town. And then lastly, I just wanted to recognize the service of Walter White, who retired from the Milton Building Department, after having worked here since, I'd say, 2013, I believe, and having previously retired from the city of Quincy. So Walter did 2 stints as interim commissioner in the past couple of years, and both him and Jay Bulio really stepped up when the town was out with searching and trying to hire a building commissioner. So for as many years of service and stepping up when we asked for help, thank you, Walter, and congrats on retirement number 2, for real this time. And I know he'll be paying attention to all things Milton, as he always does. So I just wanted to acknowledge his service.
Thank you, Mr. White. From the chair's report, I have 3 items, and I promise they will be fast. Want to congratulate the Milton High School Theater, who won the state championship again. That's the 2nd year in a row. I said this the last time when we were celebrating the girls' hockey team. We are the town of champions in all sorts of different ways. We are lucky to have the schools that we have, and we are lucky to have the theater department that we have in this particular instance. So congrats to the cast, crew, directors, and everybody else that was involved in that production, which was really compelling. Second, I think for historical purposes, I would just like to note that Artemis is just circled the moon, and I feel like we have not really paid attention to it, and I would like to acknowledge that it is really the peak of humanity and our capabilities is what we can do when we work collectively in that way. And I think, in the future, someone may look at the minutes of this meeting and say, my God, they were talking about flying to the moon, and now we live on the moon, or they may say, can you imagine we used to fly around the moon? Either way, I'd like to have it in the minutes noted that it's happened, and just acknowledge. It's not.
The pictures are really cool.
The pictures are amazing.
They're incredible.
And the sentiments of the crew have been fabulous. So congrats. Not that we have much to do with that, but congrats anyways. And the third, and I just want to say more solemn item is that last week there was a theft of a number of campaign signs for a particular candidate. I'm not going to talk about names because I think that's less important than. I just want to recognize that when people volunteer to run for town office, whatever that office is, they work very hard to try to get elected. They ask their friends, they ask their families for small gifts and donations to help them purchase things like yard signs and advertisements. That there was a coordinated effort to attack a single candidate, I think roundly deserves condemnation. I think anyone who is involved in that needs to have a serious moment of reflection about whether they enjoy living in a republic where dissenting voices are allowed and where we can have an exchange of ideas in the intellectual marketplace, or if you really believe that we live in a us versus them, dog eat dog kind of world. I don't believe that we do. I believe that we are better than that. I believe we can set much better examples for our children. And I hope that that is the last instance of vandalism, it is a crime to occur around a town election. I think, please take the temperature down if you were involved in this. Please have a moment of self-reflection and ask yourself, what would you do if you found out that your child was inspired by this and started doing the same thing? It is not compatible with the democratic republic that we live in, and I hope that nothing like that happens again. That is my chair's report. Members' report. Mr. Driscoll.
Mr. Zoll, thanks for bringing that up. Very good, thank you. Hey, Nick, talking about traffic, I was caught on Pleasant Street, the rubbish truck. Is there any way the next contract we can have them start like 6 a.m.? Get the main roads done before the traffic?
We can certainly ask that, and you're
Because
reminding
all
me.
the trucks are all modern, they
Yeah, we
don't
have to
make a
put
lot
them
of
in.
noise. You know what I mean? They're all modern, they don't make noise like the old trucks.
I know the city of Boston has.
They started 6
early,
a.m.
and that's made a big difference, so.
But I'm just thinking, get the
Just
main
have-
roads done.
More people like me running after the trash truck in their slippers, but
Forgetting to put
I
it
always
up.
forget.
I'm just saying,
Husband's out of town, yeah, no, I know. It's important.
to get them off the main roads and
It's
out of
worth
the
it.
school
It's worth
districts.
looking at and having a conversation.
Yeah.
So, just to that point, our hauler, Star Waste, was purchased by Casella last week. That came out last week. So no change operationally for Milton. Our contract is through fiscal 27, so we're under contract for another year now with Casella. So we're planning to, start having conversations about what that renewal might look like. So that's something we can put on the table for discussion throughout that.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to thank Richard Wells for all his service. And years at the board. Ben, again, thank you. Both did a great job, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Driscoll.
This
Appreciate
isn't
it.
the last meeting.
This is
No,
not
I
the
know,
last-
but I
This
might
is the
forget.
penultimate
It's just-
I
meeting.
might
The
forget.
goodbye tour.
I don't do goodbye. I already
Might be
wasn't even
asleep.
coming tonight. I said, all right, I'll go tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Driscoll. But yes, this is the penultimate. I love the word penultimate, so whenever I can use it,
Okay.
I will use it. Anything else from the members? Public comment response, I think we have responded during the discussion around the traffic calming. We have our future meeting scheduled for April 14th, 2026. Organizational meeting April 29th or 30th. And then town meeting dates, Wednesday, May 6th, Thursday, May 7th, Monday, May 11th, Tuesday, May 12th, and Wednesday, May 13th. Any other future agenda items from the members? No.
I
Okay,
do feel like we
yes.
need to nail down a retreat date for June. And I think I might have, I don't know if I've gotten back to you, Nick, on some dates.
Yes, if you and John could both provide, or we can
And Mr.
talk
Daly.
about.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
heard from Winston he's not available June 20th, but he's available the other Saturday mornings in June for a retreat date.
I
If you
think
want,
that's
I can get you a tent on Saturday morning at Hutchinson Field. You can have your own tent in the morning.
serving beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have
Maybe
to.
one of the tents.
All right, yeah, so that weekend's out. All right, so, yeah, I'll take an,
I'm open any weekend.
okay. I'll double, triple check, so I don't.
Okay.
Okay, but it's on me. Falls in my court?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, all right, awesome. That's a
Doesn't
problem I
take
can
all
solve.
day and all night, right?
No, I mean, the last one was maybe 2 hours after. I
Yeah.
think we were done before
No.
that.
You gotta
It
take the
was-
wife out every Saturday night, so can't affect that.
Yeah, we would be out of
No,
there.
we'll be
Oh,
done.
yeah, it's a morning exercise. Also for future agenda items, it's not on, it needs to be on next week, is the town administrator's,
Yeah, no, I believe everybody submitted. So.
wonderful. Okay, so,
You tell me. Give me notice.
So I'm going to move that we enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, Milton Clerical Unit of the Southeastern Public Employees Association, Milton Professional Management Association, Milton Public Employees Association, Milton Firefighters Local 1116, Milton Police Association, Milton Superior Officers, Milton Library Association, based on my belief that discussion of this matter in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the Select Board. The Select Board will not return to open session.
Second.
Okay, this is a roll call vote. Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Wells? Ms. Hegarty? And
Yes.
myself, yes. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We can do this one the old-fashioned way. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move into executive session. Thank you for joining us online.